Coach Hayes Football Live. He can talk about anything from high school to the pros. This guy knows the game, so you better not be half-stepping.
I can guarantee you most of the audience don't agree with me before they agree with you.
Strap in, because Coach Hayes is about to
Check your premium. Fertilize your brain. Go ahead, right now.
Subscribe now and check out CoachHayesFootball.com.
What's up, everybody? Hey, welcome back to Coach Hayes Football Live, man. We got a great topic today. I think it's something that needs to be discussed. It's been discussed all over the sports arenas and all over the sports shows. And I say, hey, why not we talk about it as well? As you know, on Coach Hayes Football channel, we got a couple of things we do. As we know, we do the WREs, which is Watch, React, and Evaluate to the top talent across the nation. We do the WRE Live, as well as we do Coach Hayes Football Live, which is where we just talk about different topics about the game itself, not necessarily college, could be high school, NFL, recruiting, whatever. And then, of course, you know, I got my Canes Talk Live as well. So, I talk about my beloved Miami Hurricanes. So with all that being said, man, we're going to jump into this thing. I think it's going to be a very interesting show. We got some great guests coming on to talk about it. Let me know if everything does sound good, everything looks good, and we'll see what's going on. Let me get a thumbs up real quick with everybody. Let me see if I can get a quick thumbs up, make sure everything sounds good and looks good, and then we can get this thing rolling. All right. Big shout out to everybody on the channel right now. Brother Jay Blaze, he says, Coach Hayes, much love, appreciate it. Haitian Ellen, good evening. First Lady of the Tank, that's what I'm gonna call her. First Lady of the Tank. All right. JB says, Po Lil Timmy. Hey, I got my Po Lil Timmy on, baby. We ready to rock and roll. Warren Hill says, Coach Hayes. All right. Let me see here. Zoo Prize says Timmy Lives Matter. Yes, sir. We good to go. All right. And Deshaun Rucker, what's up? I'm waiting for you, man. Come on, jump on in, man. And Deshaun said, let's go, Hayes. What's up with you, man? I'm definitely waiting on him as well, man. That's the Rucker report. Hopefully he's going to be one of our guests as well. Hopefully he got the message. But anyway, let me go ahead and get into this thing. Let's jump into it. As everybody already knows, basically my brother from another mother. All right. Got my man's right here. Where you at, V12? Talk to me. Let me see if you're coming up. There you go. What's up with you, man?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing, Coach? We in here. I heard you make that reference to First Lady of the Tank. We're gonna call her Haitian Ellen, aka Mia X. Haitian Ellen always in the building. Haitian Ellen, what's up? Nice to see you. It's been a while. V12 is always in the building when I get the call. You know, sometimes I'm like poor Timmy. Sometimes they come and get me when nobody don't answer the phone. So yeah, that's how Coach do me. But I'm here. I always answer Coach's call, man. So I'm glad to be here. Interesting topic, my brother. Hey, unless we can get into it whenever you're ready.
All right, man.
Oh, Jay Blaze, what's up, Jay Blaze? I see. Yeah, we here now. We here, Jay. You know how we gonna do.
Yeah, we here, man. Taz Haitian Kane say thumbs up in the building. I love it, man. And Zoo Pride says, how can I get a Po Lil Timmy shirt? Man, they on my website. Go to CoachHayesFootball.com. You go over there, it'll pop up, man. You can put it in there, use the promo code Timmy10, get you 10% off. All right, so put in promo code Timmy10, all one word. Man, you go ahead and get 10% off of it right now, man. It's not just this one. We got a couple of different colors and styles and so forth, man. So you go definitely check that out. So I appreciate it, man. Real quick, let me take care of a little bit of housekeeping before I bring in my other guest. I think I'm probably going to kill myself, man. And let me tell you why. As everybody knows, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary on this channel, which is April 1st. And my goal was to get 10,000 subscribers by April 1st. Well, big shout out to everybody, all the viewers, all the fans. We had like 9,820 right now, if I'm not mistaken. So that's huge. But here's the goal. If I get 10,000 before then, Coach Hayes said he's going to run a 10K. That's right. That's 6.2 miles. So I need y'all to go ahead and hit that button. Let's make it happen. Let's see how it's going. Currently got 20 in the chat, which is great. Let's make this thing happen and everything else. But here we go. Let me bring in these guys. I'm telling you, are awesome, right? They have a show called Don't Shoot the Messenger. And I'm going to let them kind of introduce themselves. I don't want to jack it up. But they talk about all sport things, basketball, football, everything, and they get real in depth to it. And of course, they've been on the show before, but I had to get them in about this because just the depth of knowledge when it comes to pro athlete sports, right? I like pro sports, but I'm kind of more of a college guy, definitely in the high school realm. So I wanted to get their perspective on it, and V12 as well. So let me bring in first my man's right here. Did I bring him in? Is he in?
You can see me? Can you see me?
You can see him?
I can. I see
All
something.
right. Oh, here you go. I had a little lag. Right? Professional Sutton in the building from the Real Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. What's going on with you, man?
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing? Let me know if y'all can hear me. Make sure I'm good.
I can't hear him.
I can hear you.
Difficulties here?
I can hear Sutton. I can hear you, Coach. Can you hear him?
Let me see. Am I out?
You're frozen, it seems like. Can you hear me, Sutton?
V12, I'm stuck. What you got?
I think you seem like you stuck. Sutton seemed to be stuck. I'm moving, it seems like.
Okay. I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, coach not on. Coach not on. How you been, brother?
Yes.
I guess it's how we like Jeezy. Can we get an ad lib? Can you hear me? Everybody freezing. Can you hear me, Sutton?
I can hear you now. It was freezing though. I won't lie. My internet was actually freezing.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you right there. I can see.
Okay.
Everything's good. So far, so good.
Okay. How you been though, brother? Everything been good? Here go Coach. He's back.
Am I back in the building?
Yeah, you're back, Coach.
I'm back, man. Look, we're going to get this thing going. I don't know what's going on, man. They said my audio is working. Bergie said my audio is working. Everything's good. Can you hear me, Professional Sutton? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I can hear you now. Everything seems like it's doing well now.
All right, good, man. Sometimes these things lag up a little bit, man, but we're ready to rock. We're ready to rock and roll and get it going. Like I said, I did an intro. Let me bring in, I know it's 3 of you guys, but one couldn't make it. And I'm going to bring in part 2 here, my man, the Rucker Report. What's up, Das? What's up, baby?
What's going on, family? How y'all?
Good, bro. How you doing?
Good, man. Kicking and screaming.
There we go.
I heard that,
Now listen, Kyle. Like you know you family because Sella tell you I don't put the camera on for nobody.
Not even me.
I see. Hey, listen, man, Das, we go back, baby. So listen, let me get you guys into it. Okay, this is 2/3 of the podcast, the Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. Give these guys just a little bit. I'll let you guys kind of do your spiel about it, where they can find you, what it is you guys actually do, and then we're going to jump right on into this thing head first.
Go ahead, Seth.
Well, you can find us on Instagram, Real DSTM. You can also find us on YouTube under Professional Sutton. That's Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. Our podcast is about the real and authentic, happens in sports. We talk about what's really going on and off the court and off the field. And we address the issue that ESPN, Fox, 1 can't address. They've been trying to address it now, but we really have been pushing and, talking about the things that people don't see. Like one big thing was the Kaepernick situation. We addressed that head on. A good friend of ours who worked for ESPN was like, hey, can y'all keep talking about that? Because I can't talk about it at my job. But I think to y'all, so that's helped. So we just want to be real and, transparent what's going on. And then also, with the Rucker Report, him being, who he is, just being, authentic and just understanding. And, we try to be censored on the sense of not using bad words, but we also want everyone to understand what we're saying and how it affects others. So that's what it is.
Rucker, you want to add to it by any chance?
Listen, man, I'm just happy to be here, man. Always supporting my brothers. Y'all family. Shout out to my man Chris G. Couldn't make it tonight. Of course, he got his priorities in order. That man working. Yeah. But whenever I can get on with my brothers and talk sports, that's what it is, man. That's what we do. You know how we do, A's.
All day, man. So let's do this, man. Let's get into this thing, right? So this subject, been wanting to talk about for a while, but I didn't want to be premature, right? I wanted all the smoke and this dust to settle. We talk about You know, Eric Bieniemy, of course, is the hot topic when it comes to NFL head coaching vacancies and so forth. But I wanted to see after the Super Bowl, after everybody has picked who they picked and so forth, after the dust has settled and everything is, all the chips have been laid, what's happened? And so, of course, you've been seeing it on Sports Center, and I've been seeing, Uncle Shay and those guys been talking about it and so forth. And I know this. I'm gonna say this right now. This may not be a very popular topic amongst a lot of even my viewers, but here's what I felt like I had to do. I had to talk about this, not just being an African American male, right? But and an African American coach, but just in general, because this is how we get beyond these things, is having these conversations, right? As long as we stay in the dark, we'll never see the light. So therefore, I just think that, and again, this is a conversation that's going to be open. I'm open on the phone lines. If people would like to call in, you're more than welcome to give your perspective. Like I said, I only have one requirement, that you just don't curse. You can say what you choose. You can say how you feel. I'm all for it. Okay. So let's say this, man. Let me kick this off. Matter of fact, hold up. I'm sorry. I got to give it up to my dog right now, man. V12's birthday was yesterday. Big shout out to V12 birthday yesterday.
Shout out to V12.
Big shout out to V12 for his birthday.
Sir.
I ain't gonna put his age out there. Just know he over 21. That's all I'm gonna say, man.
Just know, because it's pandemic season, coach, you don't know how we do. I ain't gonna put nobody's life and family at jeopardy. But my rain check is big once we get past this pandemic. Hey, Sutton and Rucker, I just met y'all, but hey, Hayes will tell you, my rain check is big. So, hey, I'm glad to be on. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be on this earth another year. Family, I'm blessed, healthy, and that's all. Like I said, I give, thanks to the Most High. And, hey, we here. We're going to do what we do. So appreciate that. Hey, we go way back. Hey, don't tell them about that All-Star weekend Vegas for my 30th. And we talking about, we off the air. That was so bad. They never bought it back to Vegas. That's how bad it was. But I'm gonna stop. And I want it's a G show, and I ain't trying to get coach in trouble with YouTube. So we're gonna leave it like that. You know what I mean?
Hey, just know this: the video that follows this is the Lion King, dog. So that's the kind of channel we on right now. All right, man. So let's jump into this. Now, here's the thing, right? So the title of the show is "Why Are Black Coaches Not Getting NFL Head Coaching Opportunities?" Right, and so there's a couple of things I want to talk about prior to that, and then I'm gonna open up the phone lines as we get into this deal. Everybody, like I said before, Eric Bieniemy, of course, has been the hot name right now for the vacancies. I believe he's been 2 years now in and running with the championship of last year. And now, of course, they lost that. But again, I mean, your offensive coordinator and so forth. Let's get into this thing right now. And I know you guys, Rucker and Sutton, really follow NFL very closely. What is just your general take on that, Rucker? What is your general take on answering that question at the top end before we dive into it, the title?
Because it's too much that the NFL is already overrun with minority players.
So, explain that.
So, the NFL, as we know, is a good old boy league, right? We know that some of the best players not only are minorities, but they come from the inner city. We know that historically, you could just say from a standpoint of Pop Warner, high school, college, and even in the pros, some of the best coaches are minority coaches because they have time and grit into the game. But that hasn't been something that the NFL is still ready to put at the forefront in terms of their sidelines as the head coach, because it's going to make the game look way different. Think about this, and me and Seth talk about this all the time. They really, in the last 5 years, maybe even 10, we could stretch it, just fell in love with the black quarterback. If it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes in the last 3 years, they still would be struggling with the image. If the image just had to be Lamar, they wouldn't be for it. They would still be trying to make him a DB, a wide receiver, or whatever, just like they were talking about on draft night. So I don't think that it's something that they're ready for. And the fact that the owners don't have to bow to the public at all. So they're never going to give the keys to the castle to somebody that they probably don't believe in.
Mhm.
So we'll always get overlooked. They know it's something that their teams need to have. I mean, not only could you look at just the Super Bowl and what everybody put out with just Bruce Arians and his roster of coaches, right? Everybody saw that. But look at what Dan Campbell has been doing in the last week. Everybody on his pecking order, not only is a former player, but a prominent African American as well. So
Mhm.
it's just it's a hurdle that I don't know if we're gonna be able to get through, because the ones that came before, and you're talking about an elite class of coach with Tony Dungy, Denny Green, Lovie Smith, you know, even Romeo Cannell that got a couple shots. Those were guys that not only had to grit their teeth in the league for a long time, but people that were somewhat well respected, but not those that would rock the boat too much publicly,
Mhm.
right? They couldn't be a candidate. Eric Bieniemy couldn't have a press conference like Dan Campbell had when he got the Detroit job. It's nowhere
Right.
in the world he could have had a press conference like that. They're not
Right.
ready for it. But
Gotcha.
for them, it's all good.
Right. So Sutton, talk to us. What's your take on it?
Well, I feel, like Ruck was saying, the NFL is not ready for a league that's ran, and have the majority of the coaches, be African American. And that starts at the college level. When you look at the amount of college coaches that aren't African American, it usually trickles up to the NFL. When you talk about these owners, a lot of these owners, they are in their mid to late 60s, 70s. So their thought process about minorities is so different, and when you're getting billions of dollars, regardless of the outcome of your team, you can do and say what you want to do. When you have a commissioner who allows this, that's what we see, and that's what usually happens. But also the NFL has this rule, if people don't know, it's called the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule says, hey, we just have to interview minorities and we meet our quota. And that's what they're doing. They also went as far as to say, hey, this is how we're gonna make it better. Whoever drafts a minority coach, if they go to this position, then this team that they were at gets these many drafts. If they go to a manager position, you get this many drafts. So what you're going to see is the NFL, they're going to start picking up some of the African American coaches and GMs, not because they feel like they qualify, but it's like, what can we get in return? And when you look at what we're seeing with Eric Bieniemy, with Todd Bowles, or Byron Leftwich, the meter continues to move when they're successful. Had they lost, it would have been like, well, you need this amount of time, or you need this.
Mhm.
But the NFL is just not ready to see the players and the coaches reflecting and looking on each other, because and these owners, not all the owners, but the majority, a lot of these GMs feel that if this is what it looks like, in the Texans owner, he passed away, McNair, he said, my organization would not be ran like a jail. So that goes to tell you. But the NFL is just not ready for that at this time. It reflects America. So
Gotcha. And V12, go ahead, man. I'm gonna take, I know we talk about this a lot.
Sure, excellent point made by Ruck and also Sutton. And two, he gave me a great segue, is that Sutton did. The NFL, and we have to be frank about it, these conversations we got to be frank about, reflects the society today. To you guys' point, they haven't been ready. The NFL was never designed for the African American to be in a leadership position, and we are still fighting to get to that position, albeit we've had some success, but we have a long way to go. And I'm glad Sutton touched on the Rooney Rule, because that's going to be something we may have to delve into later on in the show. But we have to understand the history of the NFL to understand what's going on today. Anybody familiar with the person Fritz Pollard? Anybody familiar with Fritz Pollard? So he was the first African American quarterback, born in 1894. Rest in peace. Died in 1986. He was the first NFL black person to coach in the NFL. He coached in the NFL from 1922 to 1926. Very successful. And guess what? He was ousted because in 1926, what happened in the NFL, fellas? I answer it for you. Segregation. And so they were segregated, and he was not able to continue coaching. So that goes to tell you already the NFL wasn't designed for the black or minorities, black person or minorities in mind. Then it took until almost, I say 20 something years later, in 1989, the first modern day head coach is who? Modern day era, Art Shell. So think about that. So for 20 something years, you banned us from playing. Then after he died, and plenty of years after that, he died in 1986. So 3 years after Pollard passed away, they hired their first African American modern day era head coach, which is Art Shell. That's a telltale sign. So the NFL is not really ready for that type of, for us to have that type of leadership and power in their organization. Think about it. The owners pretty much have all the autonomy. So although we have a league, we have a shield, right? The shield is protected by the owners. And we see how that plays out in a collective bargaining agreement, and what happens with when Kaepernick took the knee, what's happening now with Black Lives Matters, and to Sutton's point, when McNair, who said something about, I'm not going to have the inmates run the asylum, and that's probably what's contributing now to Deshaun Watson's disdain for the Texas organization, says something like that. And then you have the people who are most influential, Jerry Jones, and all this stuff was going on with Black Lives Matter and the protests. He on a yacht somewhere in San Tropez. So we have to realize that, although we're trying to make sure things become more integrated and we have more opportunities, it wasn't designed that way. So it's hard to break into an organization or a system that's not designed to have African Americans at the helm.
Gotcha, man. All you guys make great points, and I'm gonna just say this as a follow-up, and I'm gonna move on. I agree with all three of you guys' points, right? It wasn't designed that way. We look at, especially me being in the coaching field, and it's like that in a lot, especially in college. It's a little more progressive in college, right? But there's only 32 teams in the NFL, so it's not that many opportunities in regards to the amount of teams, right? But I'm looking at the comment section and I'm looking at a couple of things, and I'm gonna bring some things up as we go through this. But I'm gonna ask you this, because you talk about it's not designed that way, and then Ruck, you brought up a piece about the quarterback situation. Well, we knew, I'm just saying as I've always said it, Black players, as we all know, quarterbacks especially, there was always said we couldn't play quarterback because we weren't smart enough, right? That has now changed within that past 10 years, where we have a lot more. So let me ask you guys this question. Look at the progression of the amount of Black quarterbacks we have now playing, like, they're actually leading the huddles now and the teams now, right? And I don't know the exact number. You guys can run it off if you know. And that change has been made. So without kind of rambling, my question is, I know the coaching hasn't been that way, but they did give up the quarterback position per se. What was the change in ownership to say, you know what, I'm willing to give up this quarterback position where we're bringing a lot more guys in, Deshaun Watson, Cam Newton, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, of course, we had back then, we had Randall Cunningham, a few here, Warren Moon and so forth. Mm-hmm. But now you see it's more predominant that Black quarterbacks are being picked up. Why are the ownership and GMs making those decisions now? Is my question clear?
Mm-hmm. It's clear, but I'll say this. The name of the game, no matter where you at, unless it's Pop Warner and amateurism is going out of sports in general, but the name of the game is winning. So that change happened because my team, if I'm an owner, we need to win to bring dollars in, right? Mm-hmm. So when they noticed that the game changed, the way the game was being played changed, and they needed to make these adjustments, they made it, because this is going to lead me to more wins. Listen, think about it, right? Alex Smith was in Kansas City starting while Patrick Mahomes was sitting there watching. But they saw the change in the game. Joe Flacco was in Baltimore while Lamar watched, but they knew the change was coming. The only one that didn't have to go through that period of the new class of quarterback that we have is Deshaun. Because of the Texans situation, they absolutely had nobody that they can rely on, right?
Mhm.
But because the game changed so much, we have to reinvent not only how it's played, but accept that there are better athletes on the other side. Look at the Jets franchise. They struggling with what they thought was the wonder child in Sam Darnold. The Eagles just traded Carson Wentz and all that money to the Colts. And the Colts took another opportunity on another Caucasian quarterback, right? So it's the change in the game. And I think the biggest tell in where things are going in terms of that position was not only the success of the young kids that we've seen, Watson, Mahomes, Jackson, but it even caused somebody like Bill Belichick to take a chance on Cam, and he may bring him back for year number 2. When did you ever think you would see that happen?
And so that's back to my point, right? Things are chipping away and progressively going towards.
No.
Yeah, but there's no.
Don't say progressive. Don't,
right.
I tell Quet all the time, don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. This is not progression. This is about the color green, the dollar. This has nothing to do with progression. Even to the first point that you had in the question, think about this. The NFL is actually in more of a position to appease the sexism conversation with letting women in the sport than they are to give a black man an opportunity.
I can
Bruce
agree.
Arians had 2 women on his staff. There's a strength and conditioning coach in Cleveland. There is an offensive assistant in San Francisco. They're more willing to give now women in the sport. Washington just hired a female assistant coach. They're more willing to even now bow to that conversation than to have something be the face of their league that looks like a black man.
Okay.
To answer that point with the quarterback position, I agree with Ruck. I want to add another thing to that. The league has changed, and they also had to recognize, like Ruck said, the talent of the black quarterback. Remember what happens? They always think about this. When it comes time to African American, we get to the bar, then they try to move it further. Remember, back in the day, African Americans, only thing we do, we just run as quarterbacks. We can only run. We couldn't throw. Now the quarterbacks of the future, and in the past they heard that so much. Now we got what's called a dual threat quarterback. And so now you got quarterbacks who could now, a la Mahomes, who can run and pass. Now you got guys like the brother in Ohio State, who's about to be a top pick. He can run and pass. You got guys like Tua who can run and pass. So the coaching and the quarterbacks heard the NFL's reason for not starting us and selecting us, and they gotten better over the years to be what? A dual threat quarterback. And the NFL recognizes that. And like Ruck said, it's about money. So if you got a catch like Mahomes, who is a baseball player somewhat by trade, can throw. Remember back in the day, you had to be a pocket quarterback, hands back, feet ready. Pro style. Now Mahomes throwing from behind the back. He doing somersaults as motion, and he jump passing. Think about that. So the game has changed, and I agree that things are getting a little better, but we're still not where we need to be, and it's always a struggle. And I'm gonna make a point, and later down the line when we talk, I'm sure you're gonna talk about the Rooney Rule, that the NFL, if they weren't mandated to do this, I doubt if they would ever have done it. They were mandated to do this. They ain't come out and say, you know what? Oh, we want to be fair. We want to give African Americans, minorities a shot. That's not what they said. They didn't say, oh, we want to give ladies a shot. It's public sentiment. And I'm going to just address now. And it was because of Johnny Cochran and 2 attorneys, Johnny Cochran and the guy Cyrus Mary, who threatened to sue the NFL because of the lack of diversity. The way they did, when the light bulb went on and say, hold on, NFL, they smart. They want to get ahead of the game. And they started to do all this settling, and they formed a commission to help. And that birthed the Rooney Rules. We can get into it. So the NFL, the NFL they don't operate in good faith. Because if they did, Colin Kaepernick would have a job today. That's why don't get it twisted, guys. I'm a football fan. I get it, but they don't operate in good faith.
No.
So,
it's good point. And I'm going to take a step further. And Ruck and I, we talk about it all the time. It starts when they are getting drafted to the NFL. I'm going to let you guys on a little something. Trey Lance, he's a quarterback for North Dakota State. North Dakota State was the same place that Carson Wentz came. Carson Wentz missed the whole year because he wanted to sit out and save himself for the NFL. Cool. Trey Lance missed the whole year due to COVID. People are acting like Trey Lance is not good. He lost no games as a starter, right? Whenever you look at a black quarterback, Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, they always talk about the negative of the black quarterback. Always talk about the negative of the black quarterback. So that's where it starts. It starts when they're getting, in those draft rooms, when they start talking, that's when it starts. And then once they get there, they say, okay, well, we got to let you in because it's already projected by our experts. So we're going to take you. So then when they do come, their lease is so short that they can't even move. They can't even move because a black quarterback lease is so short. If that was, you look at Carson Wentz, his injuries, okay, we can say what you want, coaching change. But if he was in Washington, what would have happened? Because I'm still trying to think, what did Dwayne Haskins do that was so bad? That was so bad that they had to get him out the way and get all this negative publicity on him. Lamar Jackson, the way they scrutinized him because his team couldn't get it done. The NFL wants players that can make them feel comfortable. And if you look at Pat Mahomes, African-American, but again, we got to remember he makes the league comfortable. So that's not
a great. He doesn't have, and again, I tell people this all the time about appearance, right? So how Lamar has the braids and the this and the that versus Patrick Mahomes, and we can also call it what it is, right? Colorism. Patrick Mahomes is an African American dude, but he's a very light skinned African American dude because he's mixed race, right? I mean, so those things play a part in the optics of a lot of deals, right? So you're not gonna see him wearing, as we call it in the crib, a chunk at the press conference. You know what I mean? He's going to have his suit. He's going to be politically correct. He's going to do those different type of things.
But even then, Coach, when you get a brother like Cam, who is the sharpest thing since on attack, they want to attack Cam because he comes in ready for business. See, they don't even have the mentality. See what Cam will see, it's about, Cam approaches it from a business. The man come to work like he going to a job. And people would scrutinize this man clothes rather than his game. How asinine is that? The man. So what do you want? It's like NFL. What do you want? You want the man to wear the top hat with the old school colonial bow tie and the tails and
but again, even though he's clean, it's not business. So understand this. It's clean based on our culture. Like that, hey brother, clean. But that's not business. You have to understand that in a corporate setting, let me ask you, sometimes you can have a suit that's a little too flashy for a corporate setting, right? Because I remember talking to my man E about that. And he was saying when he was, not to put his business out there, but he was working for this insurance company. Brothers, we like to flare up. So we get the suit. We had the pink shirt underneath. And he said, man, they called him in the office and pulled him to the side and said, he too flashy. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Even though he's clean, like, bro, you can't come in here with the Steve Harvey suit, the 3/4 length suit at that time. You know what I mean? Because it's not corporate. It's not a pinstripe. It's not black. It's not brown, dark brown. It's not gray. It's not navy blue. So I hear what you're saying. I'm not saying he wasn't clean, but what I'm saying is he also was clean, but he didn't fit in the box of corporate look. Does that kind of make sense what I'm saying?
It makes absolute sense.
But once again, we have to move to their liking. You know, as long as you don't come dressed crazy, you know, I know the white tee, you know, having a jersey on, okay, that's not corporate. But at the same time, if you are scrutinizing me on what I'm wearing versus what I'm saying, then that's the problem. You know, when it's
I agree. But let me ask you this: is that par for the course?
I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Is that par for the court? Not just football, but in any aspect. Just like the NBA, and guys, you know way more than me. But they cleaned up their looks. You had to come dressed a certain way. You can't wear this. Even the headbands, they had to be a certain headband now. You couldn't wear I saw something on YouTube about they call it the Wu-Tang rag where they tied it in the back. I don't know who the guy was. Don't follow the NBA that closely. But what I'm saying is, like I said, we know the rules of the game. We got to play. We got to follow within the rules. And of course, I know they move the goal line. I get that. I totally understand that. But I'm not knocking. Like I said, V12 Cam came clean, but he also came. You know what I mean? It's not business like. But here's the flip side. I'm gonna flip this coin. Excuse me, and that leads me to my next segment. But then you look at a guy like Patricia, right? Comes in with the beard, the pencil behind the ear,
Look.
the hat backwards, you know what I mean? And so forth, right? Even Bill Belichick. But I'm going to tell you this, Bill earned his way into, I ain't going to bother that dude. But we talking about first-time guys now, right? So, you know, it's kind of like Nick Saban do a certain thing. Yeah, hey, that's Nick. I ain't going to bother him. You know what I mean? But I guarantee Nick wasn't doing that when he was with the Cleveland Browns. You know, Bill Belichick wasn't doing that when he first started this thing out. Now he became who he is. Now I got a little more leeway because that's just what I am. So I said all that to say, let's talk about the fairness, right? And so I'm probably going to be hypocritical when I say this because I just said we know par for the course, but then I'm going to bring up, let's talk about some hypocrisy here in what is allowed from the black. We're going to go back to the card. I know we talked about players, but I want to get back to the coaching aspect. What is allowed for black coaches versus white coaches? And a lot of people putting in the thing, and it's hard for me, guy. You killing the chat, and which is a great job, but I don't want to pop it up and break the concentration, so I see it up here. What is allowed for the differences, right? And a lot of people input, we get shorter leashes, so forth and so on. And I'm gonna start this off by saying a couple things. I'm gonna go back to an old story. There's a guy named Mike Haywood, not really that old. I mean, 2010. Anybody know who that is? Mike Haywood had a job at Pitt for a week, right? He goes to college. This is college, though. Goes to Pittsburgh for a week, gets the job, goes back, I think, Indiana or something like that. Goes back, gets into it with his wife. He gets arrested that night. He was fired before he even posts bail. You haven't heard from him since, right? Hear me out. You haven't heard from him since. He didn't get another job until 2018 at Texas Southern down at HBCU. But here's now my comparison. Bobby Petrino is at Arkansas. Everybody knows that story, right? He lies about everything. Yeah, he loses his job at Arkansas, but he gets a job at Arkansas State for $800,000. Then he gets the job at Louisville, never misses a check. And so I'm bringing those two comparisons up to say, you know, yeah, I may have lost my job here, but look how fast I got another job. This dude didn't get a job for another 8 years and then down to a HBCU. Not saying that's a downgrade, but we're just talking about the equivalence in job. And I got many more things I want to go through this because I want people to understand what the black plight is, what we're saying. See, a lot of people on the other side of this, white counterparts, they don't really see it, right? They don't understand what we're trying to make the comparison to. This not has to do about good or bad coach. This is about having the same opportunities. That's all we're saying. So, Sutton, talk to us about that when we talk about the comparison of opportunities.
So on our show, we have a saying that's called failing up, and many white coaches fail up. Prime example, Steve Sarkeesian.
Love that term, man. Y'all need to coin that joint. That's a beautiful term.
ESPN stole it from us.
Oh, okay. That's a beautiful term, man. Yeah.
Steve Sarkeesian.
I heard it before. Yeah. So you got it from you guys?
Listen, his man that worked there, he told us when they started using it too.
Yeah.
Oh, man, go for it. I'm loving it. Hey, all I do is don't shoot the messenger, man. Go for it.
Here we go. So Steve Sarkeesian, if you guys don't know, he was the coach at USC, got in some trouble, had some alcohol problems. They said, hey, Steve, we're going to put you in a program. People start complaining. All right, he stepped down gracefully, got to resign. Not only did he get to resign, but he got to go to Alabama and be the offensive coordinator. He got to be the offensive coordinator again. Listen, I'm no coach like Coach Hayes, but I could run an Alabama offense if you give me that type of weapon. You know? RPO, we all good. Steve Sarkeesian then was in a good seat, still lost to Alabama, mind you, came back, won another chip, all good. Not only did he still have his issues that nobody want to talk about, but he just got one of the best jobs that you can have as the head coach at Texas. Now, again, this was a man who was in trouble plenty of times before USC.
Washington.
I'm about to say at Washington. And then he got in trouble at Washington, didn't get to go to USC. So when you talk about the opportunities that we have, we don't get to resign. We get fired. And even if you look, ESPN, someone did a great analogy, and I know Ruck had talked about it when we was on the show. All the white coaches, they resigned. They stepped down. When it came to black coaches, they were let go. They were fired. Even the verbiage that you use. And I know people were saying, hey, it's not that serious. It is. Because what you say, it really sparks to what people hear and think. So next time you guys are watching when a black coach is let go, watch how that verbiage is. Again, case in point, Steve Sarkeesian, yes, V12, you could use it, please. He failed up and continue to fill up.
Hey, Sutton, let me tell you something, Sutton. There's a lot of them that fail up, my brother.
Yes,
I got one in mind called Adam Gase. He's been a bum since he was in Miami. He failed up to New York, to the mecca of marketing, and drove the Jets into the ground. And another guy who failed up is Lane Kiffin. Although I love Lane Kiffin as a coach, he failed up. He got one of the more premier jobs in the SEC. So I get that. And we're not afforded the same opportunities as our counterparts. And let me just say this. Let me add this. A lot of the fans say it boils down to winning. But guess what? That's not true all the time. Because when Johnny Cochran and the other lawyer attorney approached the NFL, they had a study done. And they reached out to a doctor. I think she's from UPenn, Dr. Janice Madden. And what she did was analyze, the track records of NFL head coaches, black head coaches, the minority head coaches versus white head coaches. And what she found out was stunning. In their first season on the job, African-American head coaches averaged 2.7 more wins than white head coaches. Fun fact. Number two, in their final season before being terminated, to what Sutton said, terminated, he used a better word, terminated, a little different. On the way to being terminated, African-American head coaches averaged 1.3 more wins than white head coaches. Another point. Overall, African-American head coaches averaged 1.1 more wins than white head coaches, and African-American head coaches qualify for the playoffs more frequently than white coaches by 67% to 39% margin. We don't get those chances. And what all people are asking for is opportunity. And I'm going to end on this point. Y'all know the brother Steve Wilkes, Arizona. He didn't get a chance to resign. That brother, as soon as they lost, Arizona lost, he got one season. They didn't even give him another season. And so when we're advocating for fairness, I'm not saying the entire NFL has to be minority head coaches and minority GMs, but let's start to make the playing field a little bit more equal. To Coach Hayes' point, yeah, things are getting better. Progressive, I'm not sure, because when you have to always fight, I'm not sure that's being progressive. You know what I mean? So again, we need to ensure that the NFL, that the coaches are being heard. And one more thing, we're talking about head coaches, but we also have to remember, and I know Coach, you say it all the time, it's also a networking system. The more GMs, minority GMs we have, the more chances that the organization will probably take a chance on an African-American head coach. So, for example, the brother I think is in Washington, he may be more open to, hire, a Ron Rivera or hire a Eric Bieniemy. You know what I mean? So we have to have more people of power in organizations to make these decisions, more HR directors. We need to hire more headhunters, African-American headhunters who can help these guys, get their resumes taken care of, and also present them to the NFL in a positive and favorable light.
Great point, guys. I'm gonna bring this up because this is why I knew this was going to come up, and I want to address this. So Bradley Fair, if I'm saying it right, says you all are racist, and here's why we can't get ahead. Simple statements like this. I'm just being honest. Nobody here. I'm not blamed. We haven't blamed anybody. And I'm not here to try and sugarcoat this and be PC. I'm just saying this is why we can't get ahead. But I wanted to do this show for this reason, because you have to have the conversations. You have to lay everything out on the table and now get an opportunity to look at from the other side of the fence. Look at how they perceive it. And that's what's happening right now. And we're going to get even more in depth. But for Bradley, man, I hope you're a subscriber. I hope you watch. I hope you do all those things. But that's furthest from the truth, right? You're speaking out of emotion. We're trying to bring in facts to why things are. And we will never, ever get ahead when we have things like this with those blanket statements. And I'm just being honest, man. You know what I mean? I have to say this probably, and I don't know because YouTube doesn't break down the demographics of the race, but a very large percent of my subscriber base is probably white, right? But I had a choice right now. Man, do I put this up and maybe lose some subscribers? But guess what? It's YouTube, dog. If I can use this platform to enlighten someone else, then that's what I'm going to do, right? Because I feel like sports is such a big part. We love when people score. We love when people get touchdowns. We love when people get tackles. But then there's also other pieces of this besides just running the ball.
Here's my thing, Kyle, Coach. Let me cut you off. And with I think it's Bradley Frail. One thing about us on here, we're guys who want to understand your point. So if you can call in and explain to us what is racism, because if you're equating opportunity to racism and advocating for more opportunities for different people, for women and minorities, and I think, my brother, you may be a little bit off base. And you can call me, you can text me, or you can call the show. We can have a enlightened conversation. Because see, one thing about the word racist, we don't throw that around like we're talking about bubblegum. I don't mess around with that word because attached to racism, a lot comes along with it called hate, misogyny, a lot of stuff that comes along with that word, that term race. So we don't do that on this show. No one has hated anyone. We're pointing out facts that you can go research yourself, my brother. There ain't nothing that we're saying that's conjecture. The stats I read off, you, Bradley Frail, can go and look it up and you can Google it. So give us a call, my brother. Let's have this conversation. Look, no one's here going to. We going to bed having a good time, and we're trying to enlighten the whole fan base because we're diverse. We talk about everything. We talk about firings. We talk about hiring. We talk about NFL, Miami football. These guys got their own show, so we're pretty much diverse in our thoughts and our thinking. And it's Black History Month, my brother. So give us a call.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, hey,
I just want to say this piece one quick, Ruck. I'm going to put this up. My bad. Well, shout out to my roommate, man.
Yeah.
He says it's not racist to say that we can't get jobs and see where the structure comes from. We have to focus on facts. Race is a factor, period. It's always going to be a factor, right? Until everybody's the same race, it's going to become classism. But until then, racism is going to always exist. But it actually moved when I went to click it. But that's what I wanted to say. Shane, and I've noticed Shane put quite a few comments in here. And he says, anytime you think someone should get a job because of the color of their skin, that's racist. You're correct. There's some racism in that. But I want you to call in and clarify. I'm gonna open the lines here in a second, but I want you to call and clarify: is it racist on behalf of the NFL, or are you saying we having this conversation is racist? That's what I want to make sure I clarify. But go ahead, Ruck.
No, I was just saying, like, just with the comment, and that comes a lot of times, even on our show when we have conversations. And the thing is this: when we're talking about sports, we can just deal with the facts. And the facts are what they are. Steve Wilkes, like V12 had talked about, was given one season in Arizona. He went 3-13. Cliff Kingsbury was given he's now going into his third season in Arizona, and he's 13-18-1 with a tie. Matt Patricia had over 4 seasons in Detroit and never had a winning record, right? Jim Caldwell was the last head coach in Detroit to take them to a playoff and was fired. Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati routinely got to the playoffs and was fired. It just doesn't happen. You've seen it happen with coaches where say what you will about the color of skin, but the facts are the facts. And the facts have proven that they are given not only more opportunities, but they're given more of a chance to get it together. Just think about the conversation that was had last year with Eric Bieniemy. He's the hottest coaching candidate on the market. He is the guru of the Kansas City offense. Mm-hmm. But he can't get a coaching job because somehow or another it says that Andy Reid is still calling the plays. They go back to the Super Bowl this year, and to put the icing on the cake for him, see, we can't give him a job because when he gave him a chance to call plays, they only scored 9 points. What conversation we gonna have?
Right.
And then my thing is, what's the racism comment in that it has to come from the pundits? Because, you know, my grandmother always tell me a hit dog a holler. So if you putting that out there, you must feel a way. Because we was just talking about X's and O's, wins and losses.
That's it. And it's funny you say that, right? So let's look. You brought up Cliff Kingsbury, and he's a guy I wanted to bring up, right? And so here's the deal about Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know a lot of people if you know his background or whatever. It was at Texas Tech. I don't know the exact record. I think it was got fired at 5-7 or 4-8, something like that. He gets hired. First of all, he gets the USC coordinator job, right? He gets that for like 2 weeks or something like that. Mm-hmm. Arizona Cardinals comes open, right? Because they fire your man after the year, right? Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so here's my question to Shane and to, I forgot my other man's name, and to anybody else who's listening. Please listen to what we're saying. Hold your question. I'm going to open up the phone line because I want to have this dialogue, not an argument. I want to have these conversations. And I don't want people always to call in who kind of agree with us because I don't agree with something. That's what I said about progression. We're going to talk about that too. Here's what I'm trying to say. You name me another coach from a minority standpoint, who can go 4-7, 5-7, or whatever it is at Texas Tech, but yet he's called the quarterback whisperer with Patrick Mahomes, right? He's called a quarterback whisperer, but you went 5-7 with the generational talent of a Patrick Mahomes. And you give him a head coaching job, not the quarterback coach at Arizona for Kyler Murray, not the offensive coordinator, the HC, the head coaching job, and you come off a losing record from Texas Tech, right? And so my question is, who else gets that? These we're talking about opportunity. That's why I put the word in there, the coaching opportunities. I'm not saying these guys are good coaches or bad coaches, but they've proven their worth through their qualifications, and their resume speaks for it, and we don't get the opportunity when Cliff Kingsbury is 5-7 at a lower tier Division I program and gets an HC job and mirrors his same performance in the NFL. Sutton, you got anything to say?
Let me just say this, okay? And it's not going to be a popular opinion by Ruck. Now, only thing I would agree with Shane is, like, I don't agree with the whole Marvin Lewis thing. I'll be honest with you. I think Marvin Lewis should have been out of there. He didn't want a playoff game. So that ain't got nothing to do with being racist. And people kill me in my show. Oh, what? He's a black. How can you say that? And who else going? I said, listen.
If he's bad, he's bad.
That's what I'm saying. Now, would I say, he was a great, seasoned coach? Sure. But outside of that, what is he doing? He ain't win no playoff game 14 years. Get rid of him. People don't like that.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Right? If you're not worth your salt, X him.
Right. That's just how I feel. Now, when people talking about, and I'm going to just put some coaches out there because I can be long-winded, but I'm not. I'm going to give you 3 coaches, and then I'm going to give you 2 more coaches. Denny Green, Lovie Smith, they were fired with winning records. Okay? Mike Tomlin, who was the coach of the Steelers, they wanted to fire this man with a third-string quarterback, and this man never been under 500 since being at Steelers. And people want to get rid of him for an 8-8 season. I'm going to also bring some few names to you. David Cutcliffe, right? David Cutcliffe, if you guys don't know who Cutcliffe is, he's a quarterback guru. Okay, he's supposed to be the best quarterback because he with the man-ins, and he got Danny Dime, aka Daniel Jones, in the NFL, whatever.
The Duke head coach. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Duke. Let's talk about T. Martin. What T. Martin is doing in Tennessee. Let's not forget how many times Peyton Manning would go down in Tennessee because T. Martin worked him out and made sure he was straight. How many quarterbacks did T. Martin have? How many players did T. Martin develop? But do you hear about T. Martin? No. And my point is, when it comes to equality, again, Shane, listen, we don't want to get hired because we're black. What we want is equality. If you're good, you're good. Then that's how it should be. But what happens is it's not being equal. And that's the point. And also, when it comes to equality, it's called equity. You got to make sure that you treat us the same way you would treat someone. Again, so I'll go back. Marvin Lewis, black coach. People love him. I think he was okay. He didn't get past the hump. But then you got to look at the other coaches who did get past the hump. Like Lovie Smith got to the Super Bowl. Denny Green, one of the best shows on turf before St. Louis, still got let go. So that's what you're talking about, Shane. Equality and also equity when it comes to black coaches. That's my point.
Mm-hmm. So great job, man. And that's what we're saying, right? And so we're talking about guys who are now doing it at the highest level. So what has been slated as this is what you need to qualify, right? So let's go about this. You went back to, I think, Rook, you were talking about this about Eric Bieniemy not calling plays and then they move the goal line. But then you look at one of the teams with the highest media market in the world, in the New York Giants, they give it to the special team coordinator and Joe Judge from the Patriots, right? So here's my deal, right? And this is all I'm just trying to say. And there's a lot of cases. I'm not knocking Joe Judge, but if I was an owner and I had an opportunity, blindfold me, poke my eyeballs out, and you read me off candidate A, candidate B. I couldn't see anybody. And you tell me, here's a coordinator who has done such and such. I mean, you just read off a list of qualifications. Just poke my eyes out. And you read off a list of qualifications. Not one person in this chat, and you can call in and tell me, and I'll call you, I'll tell you lying, would say they would pick Joe Judge's resume over Eric Bieniemy's resume. Right or wrong? If you say candidate, they do. 99.99999% of the people are going to pick Eric Bieniemy in that case. You understand what I'm saying? So it does play a factor, and this is what I'm trying to get people to understand. V12, do you agree with that? Do you disagree or what? Are you that 0.0001%?
No, I agree with you. To take it a step farther, look at this. When Sutton expressed equitable treatment and equality, and he stated it earlier, do you realize that even after the inception of the Rooney Rule, they still circumvented interviewing minority coaches? It got so bad that they had to have an amendment to it to add what Sutton said about getting draft picks, to get compensation to even to even interview minority candidates. And when I say for the audience, when I say black interchangeable with minority, I'm not only talking about black, I'm talking about minority head coaches too. So whether you're Asian, Hispanic, I think Sailor is of Lebanese descent. We're talking about minority coaches that includes African Americans. And so it's the whole gamut. It's not only black, it's pretty much everyone else. So we have to realize equitable treatment goes a long way. Fairness. If something were to happen, we want people to be fair. Now, am I saying the numbers have to match? I'm not saying out of 32 teams, it got to be 15 minority. But goodness gracious, right now it's only 5. But at least 27 teams with majority white head coaches. So let's kind of get it. If you guys want to talk about progression and things getting better, let's try to get that number edged up from a fair process that will, allow coaches like Byron Leftwich or Eric Bieniemy or Caldwell Yeah, it's okay that you said Tarboro, Dan, is it Dan Morgan out in Detroit now, the new head coach. Yeah, he's gonna have a bunch of African American head coaches. I think that's great, but if that doesn't yield the training and it doesn't progress to them becoming head coaches like him, I think is a failure. I think it's a failure. Just like if Andy Reid can't vouch for Eric Bieniemy, that's a problem. He can do it his own. Eric Bieniemy is not asking to be promoted because he's black. He is talented first. See him as a coach. To coach's point, poke my eyes out, read off the resume. Eric Bieniemy stands way more better than Judd or Cutcliffe or the guy in Arizona. He has a better resume. We just talk about the opportunity. That's what we're talking about here.
That's all we're talking about. That's why I put it in the title. It's just the opportunity, right? Because here's what I look at. Out of all of the guys, let's bring up Adam Gase, right? He goes to the Dolphins. He lays an egg on my beloved Dolphins.
Mine too.
Turns right back around and gets a job when there are other guys who are showing. And here's the deal. As a coordinator or whatever the case may be, and I'm not talking about, we haven't even gotten to that realm of the black head coaches that don't get the second chance. I'm talking about guys getting the first chance. I'm not talking about, like you brought up Lovie Smith, you get fired at a 10-6 record, and the only reason you didn't go to the playoffs because Green Bay won their game. If not, you would have been in the playoffs. And then let's talk about the second chances that you do get. You usually get the crap jobs. Lovie Smith waiting. I don't want to be, I'm a head coach. Then they give him the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Crap hole. Right? I'm just saying, let's be honest. Those are the kind of jobs that say, pull them out the mud. And then once you get there, then we'll find someone else.
But then here's the thing. Here's the thing with that, Hayes. Lovey gets that job in Tampa Bay. He makes them respectable again, and then he gets fired. Right?
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
We give you another. Here's another parallel that we just saw. Right? Raheem Morris.
Here we go.
Takes over in Atlanta and goes 6-1 to end the season. Right? He said in the interview, I knew I had to go undefeated, and we damn near had to make the playoffs in order for me to be here. Right? Still is not even mentioned where he is because he's going out of Atlanta, period. Right? Matt Patricia gets fired. Well, I'm sorry. Matt Patricia and the Detroit Lions decide to part ways.
There we go.
Right?
Yeah, part ways.
And this is no lie. You can look it up. They parted ways on Saturday. On Monday, he was in New England signing his new contract. It's not, again, it's not about the race. It's the opportunity. How good have I shown my soul to be if I've had 4 years in a place and I haven't had a winning record at all? But if I've had 2 years in a place and I've had a winning record and then a 500 record, I'm not good. It doesn't add up. We watch Adam Gase do what he did in Miami and do what he did in New York, right? And he was left alone for 2 years to do what he wanted to do. Think about this. For the New York Jets, he ostracized all of their best players. Adams, gone. CJ Mosley, don't want to play no more. Le'Veon Bell, gone. Robbie Anderson, gone. But he still gets to keep his job, right? They debating on Mike Tomlin with a third string quarterback because he said, well, maybe we need to prepare and move on from Ben. He only 38 years old. When is it going to be a change, right? But again, the standpoint is always different. The view is always different. The goal line continues to get moved. And even when Andy Reid comes out in the Super Bowl and says, listen, that was me changing the plays. That was me. It wasn't him. That was me. they still said, nah, that was him.
Right.
We saw him talking to Patrick.
Right. So let me ask you this, guys, as we move on, because I do want to open the phone lines here short. We're already an hour into this deal. Not sure what you guys got going on. But here's what I want to do. So I just want to bring up a couple of things. So just for comparison, because I'm a football junkie in a sense, and there's a lot of things I look at. We've already brought up a lot of these names. But I'm going to bring up just a few that maybe you guys didn't realize. Anybody know who Damon Evans is? You on mute, Ruck. You on mute, Ruck.
I heard that name before, though.
Damon Evans was the athletic director at the University of Georgia. Brother, he caught the DUI, right? Had a little, I guess it was a side piece. I don't know. It wasn't his wife in the car. UGA fires him, right?
Put a Petrino.
Yeah. The UGA fires him, whatever the case may be. And it took him a while. He's part of the SEC, whatever commissioner and all that stuff. But he ended up landing in at Maryland, right? But what I'm talking about is opportunities, like you said, a Petrino. So that's what I'm saying, is that comparison where Petrino is the cat that lands on his feet. You know what I mean? I look at cats like Jim Caldwell, can't get a job. But then I'm going to make a comparison. I remember when Andy Reid got fired from Philadelphia the same year Lovey got fired. Right, and I ain't no real NFL dude, but I remember these things. Lovey gets fired at 10-6, can't get a job. Andy Reid gets fired at 4-12 on a Saturday, had a job at KC on Monday with Michael Vick. He had Michael Vick as his quarterback, right? So I'm not saying Andy Reid's a bad coach. We're talking about the comparison of opportunities and what is the difference.
Hey, Kyle, I give you one.
Mm-hmm.
I give you one real quick that hits home for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
A Hampton alumni, Sashi Brown, is the general manager for the Cleveland Browns.
That's right.
Right? Gets them all the draft picks and everything that they have just benefited from in this upcoming season. He's the one that helped them draft Myles Garrett. He's the one that got them the draft picks that allowed them to get Baker Mayfield. He is no longer a general manager in the NFL. He had to be recruited by the NBA. You got to change a whole league.
And you bring in top guys in. You're bringing in the marquee players to the Browns.
A whole sport.
Yeah.
And he was the one that gave them the opportunity to be in a position to where Dorsey, the former GM in New England and Kansas City or whatever, was able to come in and take advantage of that. That was somebody that we knew. Where's the opportunity lie at?
Right. No, and right. I agree with you. Go ahead, V12.
Yeah, and not to mention the opportunity. I mean, opportunity is number one. And I know Coach may want to get into it. We also talking about the longevity because of the coaches that we referenced earlier. Most of those coaches who were fired, Marvin Lewis over 500, Lovie Smith over 500, Mike Tomlin over 500, Ron Rivera over 500, Anthony Lynn over 500. All those guys are over 500 because they were given at least 3+ years to try to bring the franchise back to where they were. Think about it. Oftentimes when the African Americans, they do get the head coach job, they're at teams at the bottom of the barrel and they have to get built up. They don't get the sexy jobs. You know what I mean? They don't get the sexy job. They get what they can take or what they're recruited for. And they take it and they smile. Todd Bowles took weren't really bad. They had a bad defense, had a bad offense. He made them a respectable team in the East. So even when we do get the job, it's almost like, wow, we don't get enough time to really have a team and put our stamp on it. Singletary out in San Francisco, that team defense was gone a long time ago. Singletary came and made that team relevant again from a defensive standpoint. And I'd like to add this. People think Jim Caldwell's resume is something to sneeze at. Don't forget, fellas, he lost the Super Bowl to New Orleans. So he went to Super Bowl as a head coach. So my thing is, why he can't get a job again, I have no idea.
Yeah. Son, you got anything for our move on segments?
No, I think everyone pretty much hit everything on the head, and I think that V12 he hit everything that I definitely want to say. And I can't wait till we talk about, until we get these phone lines open. That's what I want.
Yeah,
I want
we're gonna do it.
Hey, and just to answer a point in the chat, it's fewer than 10% of the coaches in the NFL, not head coaches, coaches in the NFL that are African American or minority.
In general, yep.
So you're saying it's fewer than 10% out of all the coaches. 9.9% of the coaches are African American.
Yep. And over 60% of the league is minority.
I'm sorry, say that again. Your mic went out. What did you say?
Over 60% of the league is minority.
Correct. And so here's the deal, right? And I'm gonna ask this question. You brought this up about our boy from Cleveland. We talk about the GM over at Washington. I'm gonna flip this question right quick, and I'm gonna ask y'all a question. Are we, as African American people who get these opportunities, because V12, you brought up a point about, well, the brother and I don't know his name, so forgive me. The brother in Washington, he's got to get these guys and bring them in. Are we scared to bring another guy in? Are we scared to say, I'm the GM, my boy V12, if I bring him in, but let's say V12 don't look good, so guess what? I don't look good. Are we killing ourselves sometimes? And I'm just figure of speech, of course. Are we hurting ourselves with the connection? I'm gonna tell you why I bring up the relationship piece, because I watched a great segment with Marcellus Wiley, and I forget the Nigerian cat's name, man. Real bright dude. Okay, come on,
KGB.
son. Iche. They had a great segment. Please check it out on YouTube. Go ahead. And, they had a great segment talking about this piece, and they were talking about relationships and everything else. But are we not, in essence, bringing our guys along in the way in which maybe our white counterparts are doing? Or do we get the opportunity to bring our guys along?
No. I think what happens is we don't have the opportunity to even have our guys come along, because what happens is if you're already playing a game that's already set for you to lose, what happens is, oh, hey, V12, yeah, so I know you the GM now, right? And that's great. But remember how I helped you out, right? So I got a buddy. He's just starting out. I know you got your guy over there. I want to bring him in, but, again, he's already at Tennessee. He's doing a good job. So if we bring him over, then what happens if it don't work out? But my guy, we can get him here. We can secure it. So we're going to leave your guy there. And also, whenever we want who we want, where are they going to fit? Like, for example, let's just say one of us become the GM of Washington. Where can we put Eric Bieniemy? He's already got a great job. Why am I going to put him in another position that's not going to be equitable to what he's doing now? So I'm not going to just get him because I can get him. Also, think about it. If I want to go get Tony Dungy, where would I put Tony Dungy? And that's the problem. So now when we're in position of power, we can't put people where we want. But then as soon as other stuff open up, then they slide somebody in there real quick. So we can't get into those positions. And that's what V12 was saying. It's like, we need the opportunities. Like, we need vacancies. We need teams to say, hey, you put who you want in here and we're going to be quiet. That's what Tampa Bay did. Tampa Bay said, hey, Bruce Arians, what do you want? Bruce Arians said, I'm going to go with these players. I'm going to go with these coaches, and these are my guys. And you're going to open these spots up for them, or I'm not taking a job. That's what we need. We need more owners and presidents to say, do what you want to do so you can be successful. And again, I'm not just saying we got to have a whole African-American caucus here, but my guys, whether it be white, black, green, yellow, I need to have that control. And I think one team, again, and I'm going to sound like a hypocrite here, Marvin Lewis was able to do that in Cincinnati. He was able to do that. People say, it was running crazy, but Marvin Lewis got to get the opportunity to say, I'm bringing my guys in. And that's what it was.
Before we open up the lines,
yeah, and also, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rick. Okay, and also sometimes, like like Sutton was saying, it's already predestined. So, for example, the brother in Washington got the GM job after Ron Rivera was already there, so he don't have opportunity to bring in his guy. Yeah, so it's already set. It's already set. So oftentimes you see sometimes the head coaches are already. Remember, guess what? It's the owner. Then you got the GM. Then you got the head coach, and so it's already predestined that way. So what you think the brother going to come in and say? Although I mean Ron Rivera he's a great coach and a good pick. He's a minority, which is awesome. He's not gonna come in and be like, Ron Rivera, guess what? I'm going. Bringing Eric Bieniemy over you. That'll be a travesty. And especially since Dan Snyder brought him in, you can't override the head boss.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
And I get that. So, my question is, and I guess I brought it from the GM spot, but I'm talking about in all aspects. When I become the new head coach, right? Those opportunities, i.e., Charlie Strong taking back to college. I know he went to Texas, but I think 8 of his 10 coaches were black, right? What I'm trying to say, those type of opportunity, not just from a GM to head coach, but I just want to clarify, just in any position of power, do we not? And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna bring y'all a story, and I'm gonna tell y'all something I have never told anybody, but I'm gonna put it on this show when I got my head coach spot. But anyhow, that is what I was just talking about in general. You know what I mean? Ruck, anything?
No, I mean it's my easiest thing is they look at it as it's too many of y'all in one room. So sometimes that could be the downfall of the whole thing, but it's hard because, and here's the flip of that, right? Are our people ready to come with us when we get the opportunity? I'd rather have that conversation with us and say, listen, are you ready for this opportunity I got for you? Because what we never really fully understand is that what we do carries weight for not only me, but for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that I think happens in a lot of those situations, because some brothers they do take advantage of it, some don't. But I think too many of us coming in the door at the same time, they're going to make us pick. Listen, I know you love Sut, but which one?
Yeah. Let me tell you guys this quick story. So as you guys know, I got the head coach job here in Orlando. And this school I was at, I'm going to leave it kind of nameless, but you can look it up if you want. But the area was predominantly white. And it was kind of both sides, right? Where we pulled from an area that was a minority middle class area and a very wealthy white area, right? When I say very wealthy, all right? Very, very wealthy area. The neighborhood was the guy who started timeshares wealthy, okay? When I got this job and I didn't know anybody up here, I'm looking at resumes and I'm starting to hire guys. You know what's one of the things crossed my mind? What the sideline looked like. And I'm gonna tell you why I say that. See, these are the kind of thoughts that I really in my mind, people don't realize this, and I'm just being honest about this. People don't realize the thought process that Black or African American people go through when doing things. It's the equivalent to, to getting pulled over and you tense up and you think, okay, my light's on, and my brake light. You run through a gambit of scenarios of why am I getting stopped? And it's the same thing for me. I was saying, okay, I'm in this area. I know the kind of school I'm at. Out of the 10 coaches, do I have 8 Black, 2 white? And the school was predominantly white. Or do I hire the best candidate? What is the perception? These are the things you have to look at. And that's what I'm just trying to say that a lot of people don't understand. He put it up there. Yeah, Windermere coach. Exactly. You know Windermere. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is when it comes to Black, that's why I asked this question at the beginning. Do we feel sometimes I don't want to be that guy to bringing this in like Charlie Strong did and brought in 8. Come on, you in the state of Texas. We can call it what it is. You had the University of Texas. This is oil country. And 8 of his 10 coaches are black. You don't think that was a conversation being had over a glass of scotch with the big time donors and the big boosters? We can call it what we want. I'm just calling it what it is. You understand? So those are the things that I'm just saying that we have to, from a leadership and from a power position, we have to understand. You know what I mean? I'm going to say this also. Now I'm opening up the phone lines right after this. If you look at majority of, and I'm only speaking college because like I said, I know that kind of in and out. There's a rule, believe this or not, and people call it what they want. It's called a 10-30 rule. 70-30 rule. And what that rule state, it doesn't state anything. It's just a kind of unwritten rule. 70% white, 30% black. So 7 white coaches, 3 black coaches on your staff. And if you look at the majority, 85 to 90% of the staffs, those 3 coaches only coach 3 positions, primarily. Defensive line, running backs, and what's the other one?
Wide receiver.
DBs.
Not
Wide
DBs.
receivers.
No, wide receiver. We actually, I'm going to tell you why we're losing wide receivers because of the computer. Now these computer coaches can pull up the thing and just say, hey, run this route, 10 yards here, break, make a break. The DB is more technically sound, and you don't see a lot of technically white cornerbacks. So these guys who typically coach the cornerback, defensive back position understand the nuances and the technicalities of coaching the position, right? Not to belittle the receiver, but you tell a guy 10 yards, turn around. In essence, right? Of course, there's some more technique, but we're talking about the backpedal phase and all that stuff. So that's what's happening. Also understand why. Who are your high-profile guys? Running backs, defensive linemen, and usually DBs. Those are the guys we got to keep in check. And that's why we're on the staff. We're to keep guys in check. Also, you look at guys in those 3 positions, there's no upward mobility in those 3 positions. How many defensive linemen coaches go from being a defensive lineman to the coordinator? How many running back coaches go from being a running back coach to the coordinator? Now, of course, there's some one-offs like the Brian Leftwich, but he was a quarterback. I mean, there's some one-offs, don't get me wrong, but we're very rarely in the linebacker position. Not saying nothing is 100%, but we're very rarely in the position that affects both sides of the ball. Because linebacker, you got to know the run scheme, you got to know the pass scheme. D-line, they think is just run, tackle, jump on somebody. Running back, all you got to do is teach him what hole to go through. It's up to him. You see what I'm saying? And those are the little things that people don't think about when we get these opportunities. You can go to any staff, Google your favorite college right now, and you look at those positions. Now, of course, there's some a little different, but you look at the majority of those positions. Very few, I don't know, I guarantee it's maybe 2% offensive line coaches. Pep Hamilton is the only black quarterback. Well, Brian Leftwich now, but Pep Hamilton was the only black quarterback coach I knew, and we have a good relationship. I'm just saying, look at those positions. Yeah, speaking of Pep Hamilton, he coached Andrew Luck at Stanford and at the Colts. Can't get a job. Very intellectual brother. Have many conversations with him. So these are the things I'm saying, man. Anybody want to respond to that right here while I open up the lines?
Yeah, to your point, I think we have to be able to take the risk, and it has to be a lot of courage to have faith in your another brother and your coaching staff. But to your point, Jim Caldwell brought in Pep, and a majority of his staff, I think he had a lot of African American minorities on his staff. You had when Danny Green was around, God rest his soul, he had a majority. He had a lot of minorities on his staff. You got the Lovie Smiths, you have the Tony Dungy's, you have the Mike Tomlins, who you see he got Joey Porter and other guys on the staff. So I think let me tell you what happens. Longevity breeds confidence. And when you're confident and when you're winning, you can make those decisions. I'm assuming Tomlin could make the decision when he first got there, but he's earned the right. Marvin Lewis did the same thing, brought people along. But when we're on these short leases, we're so afraid to make a mistake. And if we make a mistake, we may not have a job anymore. And so that's unsettling for the head coach. And so we just need to be able to, get these opportunities and be able to say, hey, you know what? If I got a 4-year contract, at least give me 3 to 4 of those years. Let me see what I can do. If in 4 years, Marvin Lewis had a long time. He did what he could. He never won a big. No one's fighting about Marvin Lewis. And if he were to get another job, he had a shot. He did well. He could be a consultant, do whatever he want to do within the NFL. We're just talking about for the newer guys and some of the guys who, got the short end of the stick when they were head coaches in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, think about Mike Tomlin. He wasn't wearing no Air Force Ones when he first got that job.
Exactly.
He knew better than to put on. I'm rocking them my Air Force Ones. Now after he done went up there and got him a couple, them Air Force. But guess what? They tore him up for them Air Force Ones, right? But anyway, let me say this. I'm opening the phone line. We're going to continue this as calls come in. I will break the conversation just as calls come in. The number is down here at the bottom, I think. Hold on. Did I put it in? Yep. The number is 321-328. 8235 is scrolling down at the bottom. You're more than welcome to call in, guys. Like I said, I only have one request, no cursing, but you're more than welcome to express your opinion, your view, whatever you want to say. And I definitely want to call in. We have some of the guys in the comment section. We're not here to jump on your head. I want to have a dialogue. I want to have a talk. All right, you understand what I'm saying? Let's go. Let's talk about this piece while the lines are open. Hopefully, somebody will call in here in a second. We have 49 in the chat. Right. And I'm just going to say this. This is exactly the kind of conversation people don't want to see or have. We got a call coming in. Caller, give me 1 second. But these are kind of conversations because when I do the Miami Hurricane, we talk about that. We have 150, 200 in the chat. You know what I mean? Until we get people that are willing to have these conversations, not saying anybody right or wrong, but maybe it may open your eyes to something to have these conversations. Caller, talk to us. Give us your name, where you're calling from.
Good evening, Coach Hayes, B12, Mr. And as far as the other gentleman, hey, I know your name as far as before we shut this out, Mr. Rucker, Mr. Sutton. Before I get started, Coach. Hey, you caught me on vacation. I thought you was gonna let me get back to Georgia, but I'm back in sweet home Alabama.
I see, man.
But I want to thank you as far as for doing this. I mean, it's overdue. And just before I do this soliloquy, gentlemen, it's just a matter of this. Some people just don't want to accept the truth, Coach Hayes. And the thing is, it's not a matter of being racist. It's just a matter of just 3 things, Coach, Mr. Sutton, B12, as far as Mr. Rucker, and that is numbers, 2 blind resumes, and as far as race spouse issue. And as far as the numbers issue, it's just this. And I have to push back as far as for second Coach Hayes when it comes on the college side.
I'm sorry, Kevin. Kevin.
Your Power 5.
Kevin, sorry, your phone broke up, so kind of restate that last statement.
Oh, as far as wanted to just for a moment push back in reference to colleges, and I wanted to look at as far as say 5, as far as your Power 5 coaches, and as far as that last review, I saw 12, and of those 12, you look at as far as the Big Ten having 4. The Big Ten having 4, Big Ten having 3, Pac-12 having 4. And then as far as, as far as the conference that's near and dear to me, having 0 now. And the thing is, going into the off season, there were 4 jobs open. Of those 4 jobs that were open, one of them has been open twice in the past 20 years. Now let's go back for a second as far as that job in question. Blind resume. At the time that this particular job came open, and we're not going to mince words, it's Auburn.
Okay.
You had Charlie Strong, Turner Gill, and both of them were hot at the time. I think Charlie Strong was the DC at Florida at the time. Turner Gill was hot as for Buffalo. Then you had this guy that had a resume of 5 and 18.
Mm-hmm.
The guy with the 5 and 18 got the job. I would assume that Mr. Rucker, as well as Mr. Sutton, B12, as well as Coach Hayes, I could assume that if you had Cam Newton at your quarterback and Nick Fairley on your defensive line that particular season, you'd have won a chip. I just assumed that. Now, tell me if I'm wrong as far as that's concerned.
If I ain't win it, I'll be close.
Okay. The one thing that just really got me about this particular thing, let's go up 20 years. Auburn has an opening this time. The person who I just knew they were going to interview was Tony Elliott at Clemson. I just knew that was a slam dunk. Tony Elliott was going to get at least an interview.
Mm-hmm.
I heard Sarkeesian, okay. But when it came to Elliott, no interview. and you get a guy from Boise State, which, when that was done, I mean, hey, everybody in the state laughed because it just meant that, hey, he's going to get paid for the next 4 years, but there's no way in the world they're going to beat Alabama. Not going to beat them as far as recruiting, et cetera. And the one thing I wanted to ask you all gentlemen, as far as when it comes to not only race, but as far as, and I'll say it's more so as SEC. I don't know whether it's as far as ACC and the other conferences, but as far as the SEC, do you think that it's an issue as far as not only race, but as far as race and having a spouse that is not of your race, if I can say that as genteel as possible?
I'll let you guys go, Kevin. Hey, man, thank you. I appreciate it, man. You my man. I don't like your team, but you're a Kane fan too, and I knew you was gonna call in, man, as always. So go ahead, Vitor. You want to answer?
Wow, that's a tough one. I see where Kevin is going with this. Now,
B12,
yeah, but Kevin, I would normally have a retort for that, but let me flip it on that. Could that be the reason why you've got the job in the first place?
Okay. Let me make it crystal now, John.
Okay, right.
Gill and Strong have wives that's not black.
I get that's what I'm saying, but in the sense of in the sense of Strong, could that be a possibility for comfort level that I think Sutton mentioned about being or I think Coach mentioned they being comfortable and that being part of the overall plan that has a comfort level with from a spousal standpoint. I'm not as familiar with Gill, but I'm definitely familiar because I know I remember Strong from Florida and all that kind of went to Louisville and he went down to Texas. So my question to you is, could that be a reason for even considering him for the position at those other schools?
Honestly, I think that it may have served as I think that may have gotten in the way of, as far as both those gentlemen getting the job, honestly. Because I didn't think the good old boys at the country club were ready for it. Now, but on the other hand, why would the good old, as Coach Hayes stated earlier, why would the good old boys, as far as dealing with those oil wells, why were they more comfortable with Charlie Strong than the good old boys at the country club in Alabama? See, that's the thing I don't understand.
That's a great question, and I'm gonna say this to you. I'm gonna say this. I know you brought up the wives, and that's a great question, right? Charlie Strong gets opportunity because I think the biggest disservice ever done to Charlie Strong was when he didn't get the job at Florida. You know what I mean? He was a DC at the time. He was a hot boy. They didn't give him the job, right? But I'm gonna tell you this. You asked about the wives, and I actually had a conversation with a few coaches about this. A lot of them say, now we can call it being PC or whatever, but a lot of guys, and I kind of take their word for it. He says, being in the coaching field, it's a male dominated thing, right? Women just recently got into it. It's not like a corporate job where you're going to meet another, a lot of these guys get into it very young, right? You spend so much time at the facility coaching, you 18-hour days, so forth and so on. This goes back to what I was saying. The reason a lot of them have white wives, and it's just what was told to me, by proximity. One guy has a girlfriend, she has a friend, right? Probably going to be white. A white coach has a white girlfriend, she has a white friend, and that's how it kind of kicks off. Because black coaches, we're not in a thing where it's women walking around in different, everybody's job. You got a nice young lady over here working. There's a bunch of guys in the office all day for 18 hours a day around a bunch of young men that they coaching. You don't have time to go to the clubs and stuff. So when you finally get that one day off, you're like, hey, man, you got a young lady, man, your wife knows somebody. And that's how it typically kind of happens from what I was told. That's why you see that. That's one answer, Kevin. Does that kind of make sense? That's what I was told.
It makes sense, but it just like I stated, and I would have probably not have brought it up as far as back then when it occurred, because we're looking at, I think that was maybe around about 02, 03. And the reason why I brought it up, when you look at that university, the three people that's on the Mount Rushmore as far as at Auburn. So you have Barkley, Big Hurt, and Cam Newton and Bo Jackson. And the person who brought that up was Charles Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, for him to bring that up and not me to bring it up, but for you to bring it up, I would think that would hold some weight.
Right.
And then when it comes to when it comes to this blind resume, I'm gonna give you one blind resume, and this is this. Before I turned 40, I head coach at one of the most prestigious Pac-12 colleges.
Okay.
Before the age of 40, I coached at one of the perennial SEC schools, which I'm presently back in the SEC. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, I had the opportunity to coach one of the most prestigious NFL franchises because of my famous last name DC coordinator dad. Who am I? Before I turned 40.
I know. It rhymes with what cars drive on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, of course, that happens. Yeah. Lane Kiffin, of course. I mean, 34 as a head coach of the Raiders and all that stuff. Yeah. But Kevin, I'm gonna do this because we jumping on the line. I'm gonna open it up to some other guy. We're gonna answer that question as we wait for another call to come in.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Hey, nice to meet you as far as Rucker. I'm gonna call y'all them 4 musketeers: Rucker, Sutton, B12, and Hayes. Y'all take care and have a good evening.
Always, Kevin, man. Appreciate the call.
Hey, man, appreciate you calling on your vacation, man. Thanks a lot, man.
All right, thank you now.
Okay, now be safe out there. All right, so real quick, man, he brings up a point. There's a couple of things, and so as we waiting on the next call, I would like to bring this up because I want to wrap this up. We got about 20 minutes left. In that thing I was talking about, Marcellus Wiley and Akuda, not Akuda. What's his name? Come on, Rook, talk to me. The Nigerian cat. They do the show. I'm gonna write it down so I'm missing.
Is that KG? I thought it was KGB that did it with him.
No, what's the dude, man?
I know you're talking about
someone have a guy.
Chat. OG come up.
Akaya. No, it's short. But anyhow, they had a very good segment. And here's what
I know you're talking about.
Here's one of the segments.
That's Samuel Acho.
Ocho, yeah.
Write that down so I don't mess it up. Okay. So here's my thing. He brought this part up about relationships and nepotism and everything else. And this is why I brought up the piece V12 and everybody else about we not pulling each other along. And I'm going to tell you why I say this. I remember trying to work and get it. I knew some guys. I'm going to leave their names out. Bringing guys in. And I'm going to tell you what I used to do to try and show my worth. When guys used to come recruit at the school, this was my game plan. When the coaches came to recruit, I had 3 questions per position because I don't know who's going to walk through the door. The O-line coach, D-line coach, linebacker, so forth, so on. I knew they were coming to see, say, V12. Hey, coach, yeah, we chop it up. Yeah, he big dude. He can play, blah, blah, blah. Coach, can I see him? Sure, hold on. So I call on the radio, boo, boo, boo. Hey, man, tell my homeboy, he already knew the game. Hey, man, can I see V12, man, down here? All right, coach. He already knew. Don't go get him the first time. That's my chance to get in. So, coach, while we wait, man, do you mind? I want to talk about quarters coverage, man. DB coach. Boo, boo, boo. I go through the whole thing. And so we get on the board. Sometimes it'd be an hour before, because the dude knew not to go get the kid. After a while, coach be like, hey, man, I'm still looking for V12. Oh, hold on, let me call. Hey, man, you see I'm on the radio. You seen V12, man? Yeah, he was finishing up a test, coach. He knew then the second time, go get him. That was my chance to show my value. I can coach. I can talk the game. I can write it on the board because I was trying to get to the next level, right? And I wanted to show guys that I ain't just talking, hey, I'm a recruiter. I'm a football coach. I said all that story to say this. Opportunities come around. I call these guys, right? And I was younger at the time, but I could take a GA spot. Hey, man, I see you guys got a spot, man, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, coach, I'll put your name in the hat. And I don't know if they did or didn't. But when I look on Football Scoop, like Kevin said, some 24-year-old grandson of somebody got the job. You know what he's doing? Shoveling snow. You know how many coaches I can tell you right now? I've been doing this 20 years. Snow shovelers, coffee getters, lunch go-getters are head coaches, coordinators, in major college and even some in the NFL. There was a dude I know right now, he was doing the time for the 40s. That's all he did. They put no time in. And I'm saying all that to say this. We talk about opportunities. I'm trying to come in. I was young. I didn't mind doing that. But I also told you I can coach. These dudes still wet behind the ears, as they say. But I'm not getting that. But what I learned is, and I'm not saying this to toot a horn, but I'm going to tell you what I learned. We create a fear because if we come in too strong, you're a threat. I had to learn that. And I didn't know that. I was just trying to say, hey, I can coach. I could do this. Look at me. I wasn't thinking black and white. I'm thinking a guy want to hire a guy for the best. Like, this young cat, know what he doing. He own it. Let me pull him along. What I didn't realize, I'm basically holding the gun to his head, because when I got a chance at the next level, again, leaving names out, I had a coach pull me in his office and told me, bro, what you think you're doing? You trying to take my job? And I was just being me. That was a brother to a brother. And me being, you know, I'm from the crib, dog, so I told him straight up. I'm just telling you, bro, if you scared of me, you already lost your job. I said, if I wanted a job, I'd have walked to the head coach office and said, let me get that. I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? So that's why I brought up that part about sometimes do we kill ourselves off? So I just said all that to say that phone lines open, guys. You're more than welcome to call in, bring it up. And also, let me just say this piece because we're going to wrap this up at the 2-hour mark. Man, I appreciate you guys being here. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. My man said this best right here. What's up, Big Zay? X-Man in the crib. He said, nepotism kills organizations and performances. That's the God's honest truth. That's the God's honest truth, bro. But we see it all the time.
Hey, Hayes, you know what I thought about when y'all was saying that, and when my man called in and was asking about the wives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could that be more of a product of fear too? Could coaches say?
I'm gonna say this about the wives too. Can I tell you this? I put it out there. It is what it is. I don't know. I don't know this to be a fact. These are things I heard. I'm only going off what people told me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say too about wives. It's also part of job security, right?
Yeah.
These wives.
That's the lane I was thinking in.
Yeah, these wives hang out together because, again, coaches spend so much time together. They have wife dates and so forth. And these wives play the game, too. They get to know the head coach wife really well. And so when they get to know the head coach wife really well, and it's time to put me on the chopping block, well, Sally really likes this guy. Corey, I missed you. Call right back in, man. I missed it. It went off too fast. So that's another thing. That's another thing that happens. But I really think it starts off with proximity. That's what they see. That's what you're around. That's who you're working with. You're in Power 5 football. It's not a lot of minorities working in the football realms. You know what I mean? We don't have a lot of black trainers. Like, you know, you're a young coach and you got the training staff. These are usually younger white girls. They build relationships. It's not a lot of minorities in the coaching side of things, in the administrative part of it, right? It's not a lot of minorities in the academic offices. Right? You're going, I mean, just think about it. Those are the type of things I'm saying. So it's about proximity. You know what I mean? If you look at it. All right. Go ahead.
You know, that's so funny that you said, you know, when you were doing it, you were being aggressive. If it was a white coach, you was, oh, look at this guy ingenuity. You know, look at this guy tenacity. That's all, you know. Again, when you're talking about wordplay, you know, you were just like, hey, I could coach. You know, I just want to show you. I just want to help your team win. Hey, you know, you were threatening me a little bit. You know, I didn't feel comfortable with you, you know, kind of showing that. But if it was someone who was, you know, Caucasian, it'd been like, man, this guy, he got motivation and he's driven. You gotta find him somewhere. That's how it usually go for a lot of us. Even when you talk about Cam Newton lost Super Bowl. Cam Newton said, hey, man, I don't want to talk. I want to go and train. That's not my focus right now. Yes, I'm sad we lost. What do you want me to say? Tom Brady, one of my favorite quarterbacks ever. Tom Brady didn't talk to nobody when they lost to the Eagles.
Right.
What they said?
Hold on 1 second.
Oh my God, Tom Brady, he's so motivated to go and win again.
Right. We got a caller calling in right now. Caller, talk to us. Give us your name, where you calling from.
Hello, my name is Candace. I'm calling from Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
All right,
Had to
Candace.
give y'all a female perspective. Hello,
Love
Coach
it.
Hayes.
Hello, how are
Mr.
you,
Rucker?
Candace?
Hello, Kansas. How are
How
you?
are you doing, sir?
We
Candy
good.
Cane.
We good.
What's up?
I gotta turn my sound down because I had the double feedback.
You can tell it's a first time radio caller.
Exactly, it definitely is, definitely. But I had to bring the female perspective in. But I first off, I think this is a great topic, great show. I always say when it comes to looking at Black people in positions of power, white folks love for us to entertain them. They like for us to score touchdowns. They like for us to do our dances in the end zone, even though they tried to hold some of that back. But they like all that stuff. But when we want to show what we can do, and your example was one that was perfect. When we want to show what we can do, we want to show that we can help your organization grow. We can help your organization win. We almost get that, you hit a little kid on the hand. We get that slap on the wrist because that's not what we're supposed to do. Our job is to strictly entertain, and that's it. Anything above that, they'll let a few of us in because the optics look bad if they don't have a few of us in there. So let a few of us in there. Mm-hmm. But our job is to strictly entertain, and that's it. And anything above that, they don't want it. And when you mentioned it, the one guy said you guys are having a racist conversation. Hey, look here, the truth is never negative or wrong. The truth is what it is, the truth. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, and you all know more about football than I do. But I don't know, and not just football, with all sports, how you get past that. Because they want us to entertain, and that's it. That's why they told LeBron to shut up and dribble. Because they only want him to entertain you. That's it. They don't want his thoughts. They don't care how he feels about anything. They don't care about his thoughts as a Black man, as a Black father, raising 2 Black sons and a Black daughter. They don't care about any of that. We want you to entertain us, and anything other than that, shut up and dribble.
Gotcha. Candy Cane, you know you the best. What's up with you? So anybody want to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, Candy Cane, first of all, I want to say hello, Candace. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks.
That is so true because, when you look at entertainment, again, it goes back to what V12 was saying, the American system. And you guys from Florida, I live in Connecticut, it's a little different. But Friday through Sunday, Black players are patted on their back from high school football to Pop Warner to college to NFL. You guys are doing phenomenal. Great job. How can you just turn it off once that game off and just look at us like we are nothing? That is the stigma right there. And that is the part of when you're talking about dominance. Again, look at what these players are doing, these athletes on the field. I mean, they're fast, strong, they can hit. That is intimidating. But also, I know where I'm going to keep you so you won't intimidate me. I'm going to make sure that your opportunities are limited, and that's all you can do is entertain. Because soon as a Black athlete like Deshaun Watson start questioning something, what do they say? Oh, no, buddy. You're going to play and you're going to like it. Don't you know the business side of this? You better entertain me. And that's why they don't like the players who stand and who say, I'm not going to play, because they understand business, but they're not supposed to.
Yeah, it's almost like to respond to what you said, how can they do this for a week straight? Because they've served their purpose. And after they serve their purpose, they're no longer relevant. Mm-hmm. They've served their purpose of scoring them touchdowns. They served their purpose of catching interceptions. They served their purpose of tackling the quarterback. You've done what I needed you to do to entertain me, my friends, and everybody else in the stands that makes me millions. And now you're done. I don't need you anymore. Now, I may be speaking out of turn because I know more about basketball than football, but this whole thing with Dak Prescott, they don't want to pay the man. Well, you don't want to pay him, but you want him to entertain you, though. You want him to win you football games, but you don't want to pay them.
Hey, Candace, this is V12.
I'm sorry, go.
Sorry, this is V12. Excellent point. One thing I'd like for you to do is I've been talking to Coach Hayes. Can you send this link to all your girlfriends too? We need more ladies influencers like you. We need your guys' voices on here. Cause like you said, like the person who said we were racist, we want to take all perspectives, you know. And we have a young lady who comes on all the time. Her name is Haitian Ellen. She's always on here sharing her. So we love this. Like you make us smile. Like we're like blushing. I don't know if you can see. We're like blushing that we hear your voice on here. You know what I mean? But you raise a lot of great points. And here's the major point: we can play for you, but we can't own nothing. We have no black NFL owners. And guess what, Candace? When we tried to do it, when Puffy and them tried to do it, and Oprah and them tried to do it, they had every excuse. It would never got it. We are the only, I mean, probably baseball too. I don't do, but at least Michael Jordan in basketball, right? And he had to struggle to get in. But there's not one NFL billionaire owner on the planet. And that's sad. That's a sad commentary for the NFL. It's a sad commentary for the Shield, and it's a sad commentary for those owners. I'll leave it at that. You done got me fired up, Candace.
The thing is, for basketball, they, you know, it's almost kind of they have to. The league is darn near 95% black. I mean, you have to go with what your league looks like. So basketball, you pretty much. Now, see, I talk about basketball all day, but you have to make it look good for basketball. You have a league that's all black. I think Alex Caruso is the only white player, well, except for the Gasol. There's 2 white players in the Lakers, but the rest of the team is all black. I mean, you have to. It looks good for basketball, but football is a little different, it's a little bit more mixed. But Vaughn, your point is, I completely agree with you. I think that I don't know what the answer will be for football, but I will say this not because you're my friend Kyle, but just because I know your passion behind football. If you were white, you'd be a college coach. And I'm not saying that because you're my friend. I'm saying that because that's true.
Absolutely. You have enough of the pedigree, and you have enough experience, and you have enough of the knowledge of the game to be there. And you know that too. But like I to Candace's point, the entertainment value, right? Did any of y'all remember, and Quet always get on me about being an old dude, but anybody remember the movie The Program?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yep.
Best
Right?
football movie ever made.
Best football movie ever made. But the only person's problems that mattered on that team was the quarterback.
Yeah.
Yep.
They didn't care that the star middle linebacker couldn't read.
Right.
They didn't care that the young hotshot running back from out Chicago was maybe a gang member. They didn't care about none of that. All they cared about was that quarterback.
Yeah. No,
what
you're right.
he brought to the team.
You're right. And Candy Cam, I'm gonna let you go because we're gonna close this thing out. But I love you. I appreciate you. And you definitely got to call in some more. We want to get that female perspective for real. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make you a Miami Hurricane.
I got some more to call in next time. I got you guys. Look, I love y'all. Great show. Much success to all 4 of you. You all doing very well. I watched the Rucker Report, so I watch it all. So I'm so happy for my brothers. You all keep doing it, and talk to y'all later.
All right,
Love you, Candy Cane.
Absolutely. Be safe.
So she brought up some great points, man. I'm gonna say this with the last 5 minutes. I still leave the phone lines open to the last minute. Corey, I know you called in, man. Hit me up, Rooney. I saw it, but we missed it. So you go ahead, definitely call in. Let me ask you this within the last 4 minutes. And my man Jay Rollo, you know Jay Rollo, Rucker.
Yeah.
I was on the phone earlier. We were talking business. Get my DJ Khaled on. We were talking business.
Another one.
And I was telling him, I said, yo, Rollo, I'm about to do this show, blah, blah, blah. He said, yo, son, you're from New York. Yo, son, how you fix it? And just a very simple question. And I was like, dang, I ain't even thought of that. So here's the question I pose. I'm going to start with you. I'm going to start with my guest. I'm going to start down here with you, son, and going around, let V12 close it out. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Yo, son, how we fixed it? Hold on, but before you do, you just take this call.
What?
Caller, talk to us. You're gonna be the last caller. Talk to us. You're gonna be the last caller of the night. Give us your name, where you're calling from.
Hey, Coach Hayes, this is David Knight. I'm calling from Indianapolis, Indiana, Naptown, baby.
All right, baby. What's going on with you?
Hey, man, let me say this, and I also understand your concern about the black coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I'm white, but my wife is black. My kids are black.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Freeman, man. I'm a Notre Dame fan. We're more than blessed to have him.
Sure.
And I'm hoping that Marcus Freeman will stick around long enough to take over the reins for Brian Kelly. Maybe they can get Brian to leave a couple years early. that cat is dynamic. Man, he appeals to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say everybody, he is such a dynamic person.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't appeal to like just, younger black kids. He appeals to the white kids too. Everybody likes him, man. And I think that's a testament to him just being a naturally infectious person where people really love his personality. I mean, do you know anything about him? I'm asking.
I don't. I just know DC at Cincinnati. Like I say, young guy, very energetic. He can coach. So this is what I know about him. I don't know him personally. I've never had any dealings with him. But of course, he turned around Cincinnati, made them. I mean, he took I got my own reservation about the STAR program, but in essence, a lot of 3-star guys and made them very competitive. I think they end up being ranked number 8 in the nation here at the end of the polls or whatever. But yeah, man, that's a great move by them. But I'm gonna say this before I turn it over to the panel. My only question is, will he get the job at a Power 5 program, or does he have to take the route of let me show what I can do here as a DC at Notre Dame, one of the top programs, of all time, in the sense of just legacy. And do I have to go down to like a Louisiana Monroe as a head coach to prove I'm a good head coach to get back to the Power 5s? That's kind of the route we'll have to take. You know what I mean? Versus, man, I'm a great coordinator. You understand what I'm saying? Because he really made. I completely
understand that.
Yeah, I don't want to say a lateral move, but he made a lateral move position to position. But of course, he made an upgrade by the school, but it was a lateral move in essence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that in them hiring him, they were saying, "Hey, we got our investment in you. We want you to improve our defense, but we're also saying we're locked in for you to replace this guy." And I got a lot of complaints with Brian Kelly. He's definitely elevated the Notre Dame program, but and everybody on the panel, everybody in the side chat knows, like, we just cannot win those big games. Mm-hmm. And he's that guy, I believe, that can take us over the hill and lead us to the promised land if anybody can. So
anybody want to
off the phone and let you guys discuss it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think. I think he, to your point, Coach, I think he made a lateral move, but the exposure for Notre Dame perspective is going to boost him as a candidate. But I don't necessarily think he's a coach in waiting for Brian Kelly. That's a tough act to follow. And I think Brian Kelly, by and large, I think he signed an extension the other day for a few more years. So he's going to be around for a while. But I do believe if he can coach, and I do believe that if he brings Notre Dame's defense into maybe a top 10, top 15 defense over the next couple of years, he will probably get a shot just by association. Notre Dame rings loud across the nation. So just by association and working on the staff with the Brian Kelly, I think he probably will be a head coach. And he may not have to take a route going to a Notre Dame, like going to a Louisiana Monroe. He could probably go to a Power 5 school. It may not be the most sexy. It may not be a Mississippi State, or it could be a Pac-10 school. But I think he'll probably get a shot as a head coach within a few years if he does well at Notre Dame, just by association.
What are you gonna get, the Vanderbilt job? I mean, I say that, and I say that being funny. Yes, sir.
Hey, and I'm going to hang up after this. Brian Kelly's contract extensions ended 2024, so we're in 2021. And man, if he can hold out, all I'm saying is I don't think they'll even question it. I think they'll move him right into that position because he's more than demonstrated everywhere he's gone, and even in his 1 month. Man, that guy's pulling in top recruits. And I'm not saying top 50, but he's already shown he can get these guys that, quite honestly, the people before him could not get. So I'll let you guys chop that up, and I'm going to hang up.
Before you leave, I want to ask you a question. The panel, bear with me for a second, if you wouldn't mind. I know you say you're a white guy. You're a white guy. What's your name again?
David Knight.
David. All right, David. And you say you have a black wife, and that's great. Black children, that's beautiful. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What you just said is what we're saying. He will qualify. He does all this. Why do you think guys like Brian Leftwich, guys like Eric Bieniemy don't get the shot? From your perspective.
Okay. I don't know a lot about Byron Leftwich other than when he played for Marshall, right? I remember him limping down the field, man, showing a lot of guts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Eric Bieniemy, that's just unfathomable to me. That guy has done what he deserves. I mean, it's madness for him not to have a head coaching job in the NFL. I can't tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're asking me to say it's because he's black, that could very well be. But that guy is qualified as anybody out there is. And me, if I'm running a team, a program, whether it's NFL or college, I'm getting Eric Bieniemy.
At least he got to get the shot,
how
right?
I feel.
At least he has to get the shot. And so what I said, David, is, and I'm gonna ask you another question. Are you a Tom Brady fan?
Not necessarily. I mean, I don't dislike him, but I think he also there's some admirable qualities about him as far as like he formed a relationship with Antonio Brown when AB was maybe undergoing some difficulties in life, and I think he overlooked that and said, "Hey, man, we can turn this around for you," and probably helped him in his life. So I'd say that's an admirable quality. I'm not a Michigan fan. I'm not a Patriot fan, but I see some decent qualities in Tom Brady besides his football abilities.
Do you think he gets a lot of the good calls and stuff?
Yeah, probably so.
So like when I'm asking you these questions, because I just want to kind of illustrate a point, and I hate to say this, but I just want to do this. So he gets a lot of call. He gets a lot of the calls. He gets a lot of the like the Tuck rule and the this and the that, right? The pass interference. He gets those because he's Tom Brady. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And I'm gonna just say this, cut it short. And this is not towards you at all. I just want to illustrate a point for listeners who don't understand what I'm making a parallel between systematic racism, and this is not what we've talked about. And I'm not accusing you whatsoever. That is the equivalent for all the people out here, right? White folks or whatever that. I don't like Tom Brady. He always gets the call just because he's Tom Brady. He sucks. He da. But to me, that's the equivalent of what black people are saying about systematic racism, right? And white privilege that we're saying. Does that kind of make sense where I'm coming from, David?
No, it does a lot.
People are mad at Tom Brady. People are mad at Tom Brady because he gets the extra call. He gets to this. He gets to that. I'm talking about white folks that are mad at Tom Brady. What we're saying as black folks is that's the same thing that's happening. But Tom Brady probably doesn't even see that he got that extra call. Tom Brady doesn't even see. It doesn't even dawn on him. He doesn't think he's better than anybody else in his mind. Do you guys want to follow me where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I just want to make that parallel, David, because that's what we're saying from a systematic standpoint, that it's not fair that Tom Brady gets all these calls and helps him win 7 championships. It's not fair that Tom Brady, in my opinion, he was nowhere near the MVP of the Super Bowl.
No.
But because he's won the 7, he is Tom Brady. We're going to give him that extra opportunity. And that all we're asking for is an opportunity, not an extra one. And that's all I'm saying, man. So I hope, and again, this is nothing towards you as an individual. You were last caller, and I just wanted to put my point out there.
No, it totally makes sense. And if you think about what all has transpired, I'm not even going to talk about the COVID-19 crap, but for all the rioting, like for the policemen profiling, targeting young black men, that just shit didn't happen just this last year, man. It's been happening for years, like 30 to 40 years. And like, it's United States just fucking woke up. Like, really? Do we just wake up as a country that this has been going on? Yeah, nobody ever did shit about it. Even if you try to talk to people about it, nobody did anything about it.
Well, I'm gonna say this, David, and
going.
I'm gonna say this in conclusion with you. Because I'm gonna cut this off. I want to ask you guys last question, David. To answer your question very quickly, NWA was talking about it in '88, right? People have been talking
Fight
about
the
it before.
power.
There you go, David. 92.
Fight the power. Marvin Gaye had a song. Lord have mercy. I just had it on my tongue.
What's going on?
What's going on? That's right. And Will
What's
Smith.
going on? Yeah.
And Will Smith said it best. This ain't just start happening. It just started getting recorded. And so
David Dead Press spoke about it in 99. Dead Press. You only want to check that one out too. Dead President. He spoke about it too a long time ago.
Yeah. So it's been forever. Well, David, man, thank you so much for calling in, man. Thank you for allowing me to use you for an illustration. Thank you, man. And we're gonna close that last question. Great call, man.
Yeah, hey, God bless you guys, man. I wish you absolute best.
Likewise,
right,
brother. Take care.
You too.
Absolutely.
God bless you, man.
Right on.
Right on.
All right, so I'm gonna I'll close out the line. We're done with it. That's my last question. How do we fix it? People in here, some people still just don't get it, bro, and we're gonna be going, man. Hold on, so I'm just wanting to say something. But anyhow, so my last question is, in the words of Jay Rilo, if he's watching, son, how we fix it? So back to you, son. How do we fix this issue of getting opportunities?
Players need to take a stand. And players need to say, nope, I'm not playing. And I'm talking about prominent African-American players who need to also get their brothers who are Caucasian, like the Tom Brady's, like the Aaron Rodgers, the Drew Breeses, the J.J. Watt to say, if they're not playing, we not playing. And messing with their pockets. And again, like you said, this ain't about black and white, it's about green. So once you start messing with that green, people pay attention. That's all I'm gonna say, fellas. So,
all right, V12. I'm sorry, Rucker. I'm gonna let V12 close it out and let my dog hit them off.
So I think the same thing that Seth just said, man. The same thing we were saying throughout the show. We have to understand our value, and we have to demand our value now as 60% of a league, as less than 10% of a coaching staff, as the people like Candace said that entertain. You want to be entertained, you will have to start bringing some other people in that we like, that we want, that we support, and that's the only way it's going to change it. This is going to be a change from the inside out with the NFL, but it has to be by people taking a stand. I think one of the biggest things that we saw in this offseason was Alex Smith taking a stand for Eric Bieniemy. I guarantee you, if there were 3 more people that look like Alex Smith that took a stand for Eric Bieniemy, something different could have shook out for him.
B12.
Listen, the NFL claims that it wants to increase minority representation from the front office to the field. Well, guess what, NFL? Do it. Interview the strong panel of minority coaches that are out there and GMs that are give them a fair, they want in fairness, in earnest interview, not because the Rooney Rule said it. There's a difference between acting in good faith and being required. See, I think some of it is a pushback to the Rooney Rule, because guess what? The Rooney Rule required them to do it. Hey, Coach Hayes, if you force me to run gases, I don't really want to run gases. I'm gonna resent you, Coach Hayes. Mm-hmm. Right? If you force me to do push-ups, I'm gonna resent you. But if I want to do it freely and I laugh at Coach, I can do 50 push-ups, Coach Hayes. Go ahead and do 50 V12. I'm gonna do 50 and laugh at you. So they have to really, in their minds, have to shift their culture and in earnest want to hire and interview minority coaches and women coaches, and that will essentially help alleviate the problem. Hire, interview, and in earnest interview these minority candidates and get them these jobs. They're overqualified. They've served their time. It's time for them to get an opportunity. And to Sutton's point, we all need allies. And when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, Eric Reed was his ally. And it was another somebody else was the ally who was a Caucasian guy, was an ally. He didn't kneel, but he stood and put his hand on his shoulder. If we a brotherhood, We got to be allies with each other. And for people who out there saying, "Oh, this conversation may be racist," no, bro, you my brother. The person who say we racist, no, you my brother too. We need each other. We need you, bro. We need you guys. We need everyone because the NFL is a powerful machine. As if you haven't noticed, and in order for us to get things changed, we have to band together, and the fans got to demand it too. Son, you said the players, but also us. If we stop watching, if we stop feeding into some of this stuff, then guess what? They can't make no money. Advertising goes down. So we have to put pressure on these owners in the NFL to interview in earnest and even penalize those who are not doing it. More penalties that they were discussing. But let's get these minority candidates interviewed and hired. And especially, again, with the women coming in, of course, advocating for the women as well. And the referees, the whole nine from top to bottom. We need more inclusivity in the NFL in general. And I'm out.
Love it. I'm going to say this in conclusion, guys. I'll just be honest. A player asked me one day in practice at that same school, he said, "Coach," because we had some racial things happen at the school, and he said, "Coach, when do you think racism will be over?" And my honest response was, when everybody becomes the same race. Right? It's just what it is. Right? In nature, there's things called natural selection, right? I've said this before. You go to a party, all the guys go to the left, all the girls go to the right. Right? Certain things happen. It just happens innately within us. But there are also people out here, as V12 used the word ally. There are also people who don't see that. And I'm going to take my hat off to a family. There's a couple of them. But like the Glazier family who own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They gave a Raheem Morris his first shot at 34, 35 years old. Now he kind of tanked it. He tanked it and he got fired. But they gave him a shot. Gave him an opportunity. And if you look at their track record now, you got Bruce Arians that comes in. And they didn't push back on his coaching selections. Right? You understand what I'm saying? There was no, at the end of the day, when Glazier held up that trophy, he saw winning. He didn't care how they got there. He saw winners. You understand what I'm saying? And he made it happen. So I said all that to say this. The owner base, I think I read it was 68. The average age of the owner is 68 years old. Back to that conversation with Mark Sellers-Wiley and I wrote his name down, Ocho.
Sure.
We have to look at the background of some of the owners, right? You know what you know. If you take 68 away from 2021, you're in the heart of the Civil Rights Act, right? We're just talking about what's innately in you. The type of things they were taught. This is the time of water hoses and dogs, counter sit-ins. These are the things that are in them. I'm not calling them racist. We're just talking about what's innately in you as a person. What do you see through your experiences? You understand what I'm saying? Most of them have very few dealings with Black people in their business come-ups because a lot of their business was done now through the 70s, the 80s, and so forth. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Until they pass on, which they're going to do, and the younger generation start taking over this stuff and have now their dealings, right? The grandkids or the kids or the grandkids who are now taking over, they've had more interaction with more Black people. It's not so separate. Does this make sense? What I'm saying? Guys?
Absolutely makes sense.
And it's not, it may not happen in our lifetime. I'm not saying we won't have another coach, but I'm talking about true equality. You understand? Bro, we're talking 50 years. What are we, 50 years away from Jim Crow? Civil Rights Act of 68? We're not that far away. Bro, 50. Everybody mama on here older than 50 years old.
Sure, yeah.
Your mama went through Jim Crow. My mama went through it. You understand? Your grandparents went. I'm just talking about their experiences. And so your mom is experiencing the Jim Crow when on the other side, his owner was a part of Jim Crow. So in his mind, he still sees athlete, worker, me, owner. Does that make sense? I'm going with it. Until these offspring, grandchildren, children, grandchildren, so forth, who have never experienced that, when they start going to school with that, those 68-year-old guys, that was segregation. They didn't go to school with black people. The black people that they've encountered growing up were usually working for them, housemaids, some kind of worker in the field. I'm just talking about experiences, and that's all I'm saying. So I know I rambled a little bit, but all those things go on. When those things change and those experiences, and your kids, you teach them something, but then they start experiencing things. Think about the friends you have versus the friends your kids have today. Right? This is what it was. So I just want to put that out there. How we fix it, it's going to take time. Time is the world's Band-Aid. You understand me? It'll fix everything in time. I've always said that. But until then, you got to continue to push. We still want to get guys, like I said, if we just close our eyes and look at resumes, Brian Leverich will have a job. Not saying Adam Gase can't coach, but damn, bro, you done broke 2 teams. Broken. They're broken. You know, I mean, we just talk about opportunities. What's my man from the Dolphins sniffing coke off the thing, talking to a stripper? He on the internet, baby, I love you. He's got cocaine on the table in the Dolphin facility, sniffing, sending the video to his stripper side girlfriend, goes to a rehab for a year and coaching for the doggone 49ers right now. I don't care who you are. We got one black coach that got a DUI and he can't coach no more ever. This dude is on video. You can pull it up right now on YouTube. Not me. I'm just being for real. So when people get on here talking about race and all that stuff, nah, bro, it's in your face. As black coaches, no, I done been to meetings with white coaches. You know what advice I was always given? I'm going to say this and I'm going to be done with it. In the coaching realm, one of my mentors told me, when you go out with coaches, and y'all know I'll drink and have fun. You know what he told me? Don't ever drink with them when you're doing that. You want to know why? Because you look at you a different light. Order you a water, order you some soda. I'm like, damn, coach, I'm a big dude. I can handle a beer. I can handle a drink. But that's not what it was about. It's about perception. And that's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying. So with all that being said, fellas, I love y'all, man. You know, man, we're going to always do this thing again for everybody in the comment section. I appreciate you. I don't know what the likes look like. I don't know what the dislikes look like. I just wanted to make sure we had this conversation, man. We're going to get our Hurricane stuff. I know you guys may not be a King fan, but we're getting them back on Sunday. Somebody asked me where we've been. Look here, Super Bowl was last Sunday. Valentine was the other Sunday after that. So we back on. We're going to make it happen, man, and we're going to get back to it. V12, you know, you always, what, is that Florida State, Rock?
Hey. Yes, sir.
I wish I'd have known that. I would have brought up Willie Taggart, but I didn't. But anyway, Willie Taggart one and done. But anyhow, so with all that being said, man, I'm just saying, man, thank you guys so much. Sudden, we definitely going to talk. Thank you, man, guys. Don't hang up when it's off. And anything else, guys, from anybody?
That's it.
Hey, Rucker,
appreciate it, man. Appreciate the opportunity.
Like meeting you, Rucker. Something it's been a while, man. Hey, listen, we go on this thing deep when the pandemic first started. I'm glad to see that your mental health is well. You smiling still. My mental health is well. And I said, Brother Rucker, nice to meet you, man. And
yes, sir.
It's always a pleasure to have you guys on, man. And, you know, like I said, I hope to see y'all in the future, man. Do some more, chop it up some more. We all
yes,
need
sir.
it.
Yes, we're going to make it happen, man. Other than that, I'm good to go. Like I said, don't hang up, fella. Good to go. Any other questions? Any last comments? Remember, check out Don't Shoot the Messenger. When do you go on, guys?
Go on Saturdays and Sundays, different times, but Saturdays and Sundays. Check us out on Facebook, Don't Shoot the Messenger Podcast, Instagram, Real DSTM, and on YouTube, Professional Sutton.
All right, man. Appreciate y'all. We're gonna be back at it, man. Love y'all. Check us out. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe button. Peace.
Good night.